Regular meeting for Alamana Kaka'ako Neighborhood Board 11. The purpose of the neighborhood board is for us to get together, talk about issues that affect our neighborhood to make sure that it is a great place to live, play, work, and thrive. Let me go over roll call. Member Chang.
Present.
I am here. Member Webb.
Present.
First Vice Chair Chief.
Present.
Member Mariano.
Present.
Member Rice mentioned she was going to be a few minutes late. Member Farringer. Treasurer Kimpo Iwamoto.
Here.
Second Vice Chair Lori Farinas. Present. And Member Emma Davis. Here. Okay, looks like we have quorum. Okay, the quorum reminder at meetings. I know this board is really good in engaging each other and having a really good discourse, but I do want to remind everyone that when you do talk, try to limit it to under 3 minutes, just so everyone can get a talk. And as well as make sure that you wait for either myself or Spencer to call on you. This both applies for online and in person. So with that said, it's not that we deviate far from that anyway, but I just wanted to remind everyone and thank you all for remaining cordial throughout this year. Thank you. That's at the end. So let's moving on. Let's move on. Honolulu Fire Department for public safety reports. I think. Okay. Thank you.
Can you guys hear me? All right. Let's see. Hi, I'm firefighter Dikova. I'm with Station 2, Pawa. No information previously requested. Incident statistics for October 2023. Fires, structures 2, wildland brush 0, nuisance 4, cooking 1, activated alarms no fire 23. Nuisance fire includes a rubbish fire outside or structure or vehicle. As far as emergencies, medical, 156 medicals. Motor vehicle collision with pedestrian, 4. Motor vehicle crash collision, 7. Mountain rescues, 0. Ocean rescues, 1. And hazmat incident, 1. Fire safety tip for this month, holiday cooking safety. Keep everyone safe this holiday season. Thanksgiving is a peak day for home cooking fires, with more than 3 times the daily average for such incidents. Christmas Day and Christmas Eve rank second and third, with both having nearly twice the daily average. Unattended cooking is by far the leading contributing factor in cooking fires and fire deaths. So some tips for cooking at home. Stay in the kitchen and focus on the food when you are cooking on the stovetop. Stay in the home when cooking your turkey and check on it frequently. If you want a fried turkey, purchase it from a grocery store, restaurant, or buy a fryer that does not use oil. Turkey fryers that use cooking oil are not safe. These fryers use large amounts of oil at high temperatures, which can cause devastating burns. Consider purchasing an infrared fryer, air fryer, or electric turkey fryer that has been listed by a qualified testing laboratory. Do not leave fryers unattended when in use. That's all I got for today.
Any questions from the board? Questions from the community? Okay, thank you for being here this evening. Appreciate it. Honolulu Police Department. I see Lieutenant Sagusho online.
Hello, Shirley, and everyone in attendance. Hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving and still eating leftovers. Statistics I'm be providing for you guys today is going to be for the month of October. So I'm going to just start. So motor vehicle thefts were 9. Previous to that was 13. Burglaries were 10. Previous month was 5. Thefts is 123. Previous month was 106. UMVs or car break-ins were 21. Previous to that was 31. Assaults were 10. Previous 23. Sex assaults were 1. Previous to that month was 4. Graffiti cases were 2. Previous was 1. And ironically, both drug cases for both months were 11. So total cost for service was 4,055 compared to 4,267. And there are no criminal breaches at this point in time for me to report. Just a few reminders. So Moana Shopping Center, obviously with the peak shopping times, traffic around the area is going to be a little bit more busier. We also want to remind the people for this being December 10th, we have the Honolulu Marathon. And with that being said, there's going to be a lot of road closures. If you need more information on road closures, road closure times, just you can look at their public website. Yeah. So the safety tip for the month of October is going to be scams. We've been getting a lot of our kupuna getting scammed. Some of the situations that they elicit is like lottery winnings, sometimes outstanding traffic warrants, missing jury duty. They also have this other thing called a yes scam, where robotic calls try to record you saying the word yes, and then they use that recorded voice to do unscrupulous things. Best thing for you to do is screen all your calls. If you don't recognize the number, let it go to voicemail, or let the answering machine take care of it for a bit. Robotic calls don't get past these screen calls. Another thing to look out for is heavy foreign accents. Next thing would be lack of information. So if they're calling you about a gas company account or water bill account, they don't have that account information, address information, that kind of things. Yeah. Or especially if they ask for unusual forms of payment, especially when they want it paid in gift cards and other ways like routing numbers. Anytime you get these kinds of calls, just go ahead and hang up and then call that particular entity or business on your own. At this point in time, I'm going to yield back the rest of my time and take any questions from the board.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Any questions from board members? First, Vice Chair Chi.
Hi, Pastor Garcia. Oh,
The mic's over here, so if you just.
yeah. Okay, I'll take the mask off. Thank you, Lieutenant Segucia. First off, happy Thanksgiving. I received a complaint from one of my neighbors in the Moana area, right across from the McDonald's at Elm Street. There's a bunch of people who are dropping off bulky items and kind of just illegally dumping them in that street. And I don't know if that's an HPD's purview, but if either HPD or the department responsible for that could check that out. If they could check that out, then something about the illegal waste there that would be nice. It's a lot of bulky material and off the sidewalk, which makes it really hard for sidewalk access. And there's already cars parked on the street, so you can't really go around it. Yeah, that's all I had.
Take that back into.
Yeah, just confirmation. So you're talking about the McDonald's on Kiamoku Street? Is that the McDonald's you're talking about? I could
Yes.
barely hear that.
That's the one.
And it's on the Sheridan Street side of the establishment, correct?
Yes. On the street.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and send some units of it. I'll go see if we can get some bulky pickup, city and county bulky pickup to go and make an assessment over there at that location. Then we do have a homeless encampment kind of surrounding that old foremost area. So it's a hotbed, but we'll go in and check it out, sir.
Okay, thank you. And in the future, if we happen to catch the people dumping it in the act, is 911 the appropriate number to call?
Yes, it would be. Yeah. So license plate, suspect description. We can if we get there in expeditiously and then we can do a traffic stop. We also would need the person that called to meet with us, to actually make a formal complaint and write us a statement. We get a lot of calls that none of the callers want to meet with us, so it's very difficult for us to prosecute or take it further than that, because we don't have a person to write a form for us.
Okay, got it. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks.
First Vice Chair Chi. And I want to acknowledge that Secretary Jeannie Rice arrived at 6:08 p.m. in person. So thank you so much. And Member Farringer is online as well, 6:09 p.m. Any other questions from our board? Member Mariano, and then Secretary Rice.
Happy Thanksgiving again. Just regarding to the assaults, how many of them gang related? Like for a gang initiation?
Um, in regards to the assaults, I don't have that particular information, but normally I work first watch, so majority of the assaults occur on first watch. It usually occurs during the bar closure times. Obviously, liquid courage kind of drives most of these situations, and it's pretty much in that Kapilani Keamoku corridor, surrounding all of the late night bars. Yeah, no gang initiation type stuff.
Okay, and just another follow-up on the PE Koi, that's in at 7-Eleven on the corner of South King and PE Koi. Uh, I frequent that 7-Eleven quite a bit and all different hours, particularly early in the morning. And there's been a rash amount of theft that's going on in there. And there's also, some of the I guess the homeless people or houseless. They're out there and there's also one or two ladies sometimes, or maybe it could be the same one, just naked and just kind of running around up and around that area. So I just kind of bring that up. And in the past, when HPD had put a patrol out there by the gas pumps, it kind of brought that down quite a bit, but now it's starting to creep up again. So it's just those kind of frequent areas, particularly the 24-hour, the Wendy's, that 7-Eleven, and all around in that area. There's a kind of a concern. And some of the employees early in the morning, when I'm going to work at 3:30 in the morning, they're kind of hesitant because they come in at 3 or 4 individuals at a time, and they'll just take what they want and leave. And I'm thinking, gee, grab me that musubi. Just joking aside, but it's just kind of a concern because it has an impact for all of us as well. And so that is a concern.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Morano, so what we do is, if you look across the street, there's a Chevron across the street. Most of my officers go over there. I guess maybe the coffee's better on that side, but they usually hang around at that Chevron, so they're directly across the Picoy store. I usually
Yeah, I thought
frequent
about
that
doing
Picoy store.
Yeah.
I usually frequent that Picoy store to get my late night drink and stuff like that. Yes, we do see a lot of homeless in the area. Obviously, it's a choke point because it's like you said, it's a 24/7 operation. It's a place where they can actually, sad to say, sometimes steal food and get free ice and drinks and stuff like that. So we kind of talk to the workers over there to kind of limit that accommodations, I guess you could say, given the free ice and stuff like that, because it does cause a situation. Yeah, but yeah, I'll make mention of it to my patrol unit and then have them kind of hang out there more often.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Mariano. Secretary Rice.
I'm concerned at the moment about Moana Beach Park and so many homeless, houseless people. Right at the corner of, or just Ella, of the corner of Queen Street, where the crosswalk is, there have been 3 groups of tents, and they're there overnight. They don't pack up and leave. And they're also blocking the sidewalk and observe a number of people in wheelchairs who cannot get around their stuff. So, and then also, I don't know if this is part of your territory, but also in Magic Island, when you go all the way out to the point where the fence is, where people aren't supposed to walk and go further out, there's a whole encampment of homeless houseless people. And it doesn't look good for, it's not great for items, it's not good for visitors, for anyone, you all know that. So I don't know if you're aware, but I just wanted to bring it up that they shouldn't be in the park after 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Yeah, that's interesting that you bring it up. So in regards to that Queen Street side, on the Kamake Street side of the Alamana Beach Park, those guys are pretty, yeah, they're pretty savvy. So what they do is they exit the park. They actually bring their items outside of the park, just outside of the fringes, so that we can't sight them and stuff like that. They know about the EDA rules, So they keep all of their items, particularly to one side of the sidewalk. Yeah. And then we have been citing, okay, I want to make this known. We have been citing and making arrests for park closures in the past. But when they go to court, okay, a lot of these cases don't get prosecuted. They get passed up and they get dumped. That's what we call it. Sorry. But that is just a mirrored fact. We will continue to go and enforce the park rules in the park. We are not singling out the homeless. If they're in the park within park closure hours, they're going to get citations. If there's anything criminal that occurs, they're going to be arrested or cited for it. Yeah, but anything further than that, they know the law just as much as we do. Yeah, that's why if you're there at about 10 o'clock at night, you'll see a lot of these residentially challenged people taking their items out of the park on these shopping carts and going across the street towards Moana Shopping Center. So they kind of play the game, right? And then we're still in the midst of that ACLU lawsuit, right? It would be
Yeah.
interesting to ask them what they would do, or if they have any other solutions, because this cannot be just a police issue. Yeah, it's a societal issue. It's not just
Right.
us. Yeah, so we'll continue to do law enforcement in regards to criminalities, but just like I said, we're not singling out the homeless in that regard. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Can I get a follow-up?
Thank you, Member Hayes. Member Mariano.
Yeah, just a follow-up with Lieutenant Sugucio, because you mentioned about, the jurisdiction, is there something that this neighborhood board can do, like going and maybe pursuing maybe a resolution to kind of help that? Because if your hands are tied, that you can only do so much, 5 feet, 3 feet, whatever, from the park, and then, they're going to the other side and there's a gap and you don't have jurisdiction. Is that something that this neighborhood board can do, and if they can get with the other neighborhood boards to kind of put together a resolution to bring it up to the city council to help bridge that gap to help with enforcement?
A city line law that we have right now, it just encompasses certain parts and areas of the Chinatown Business District. It doesn't really account for the Kaka'ako side. So as long as they're leaving enough ingress or egress on the sidewalk, they can pretty much remain there, yeah, until somebody makes a complaint that we ask them to move along. There's other locations like Kaka'ako waterfront and the harbor over there that is very jurisdictional. Yeah, some parts are state, some parts are city, some parts are privately owned by OHA. So it's really difficult to enforce some of those things, right? So they've hired private security, but that private security, they're also getting inundated with these types of calls. Yeah, so they only can do so much. So it's kind of like we're kicking the can down the street, but we're kicking it back and forth. So it gets a little bit difficult. The true measure of fixing this thing is finding them transitional homes, because passing the problem over on to the next guy isn't a solution.
Correct.
Thank you, Member Mariano and Lieutenant Seguso. Member Davis.
I think I just wanna kind of mention something that came up at the last meeting, but I think we all kind of noticed that this is not, again, HPD is not gonna be able to solve it. We can't solve it sitting here in this meeting, and we need to be able to talk about it in a more robust way than I think we're gonna be able to in these 2 hours without getting to the rest of the items on our agenda. So I kind of wanna make up, I don't know if it's a motion, but to set a date for set a date for actually holding an action committee meeting or figuring out what that looks like and making this our first agenda item and figuring out who do we need to invite? And maybe that's the first meeting, is who do we need to invite to these conversations? And let's actually make progress towards that. And maybe the solution is just looking at solutions for our neighborhood specifically first. Different neighborhoods have different strengths and weaknesses. Our neighborhood is very walkable, other ones aren't. The way that we structure a solution has to also take that into account, and not all solutions are scalable statewide. So I think how do we, again, as a neighborhood, think about solutions, invite the people that need to be a part of that conversation, and then write a resolution that might actually work in terms of starting to solve some of these problems at a neighborhood level before we think, let's, put a one-stop shop, solution on all.
Yeah, he was invited.
And I think that is an absolutely, they should be. Let's understand all of the perspectives and try and better understand what the challenges are. But I think it's, again, a much bigger conversation than we're gonna be able to solve in the next 10 minutes. And, let's take action in terms of setting up a meeting where we can actually address those things, is something that I'd like to do.
Okay, thank you, Member Davis. So I just consulted with our wonderful neighborhood assistant, Spencer Johnson. So I think members Chang and Moana are familiar with the whole process of the action committee setup. So we don't need a motion for it. We can just decide. So I'll send out an email. We can get some dates. And just to remind everyone, we are in recess in December. So we can either do it then or January. But, your comments are noted, so we should organize that soon.
We have a question.
Okay, Member Chang and then Treasurer Emoto.
So you mentioned that when cases are brought to court, they get dropped. Can you explain that to me? Or dumped? I think dumped was the term you used.
I think that's information that maybe you guys can get from the prosecutor's office or the judiciary. Yeah. But a lot of us go to court. Well, a lot of the bike detail go to court in regards to these park closures and stuff like that. A lot of these sit-lie, especially the sit-lie laws, yeah, they get not prosecuted. Yeah. So unless they don't show up to court, then a warrant won't be issued. Majority of the time, a lot of these cases go unheard.
So is it because they refuse to prosecute it or they just refuse to even hear it?
That might be a question for the prosecutors and the judiciary. I cannot make any assumptions or guesses.
So that's something that we can also add to the action committee.
Let's make a list.
They should be at that meeting that Madam Davis had requested for. I think they would be fit for that meeting.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you, Member Chang. Treasurer Iwamoto online.
Yeah, thank you, Lieutenant Segusho, for making several points. One is our unhoused neighbors are smart about the law, which is great, and that it's really, in so many ways, it feels so. It must be so frustrating for the HPD to get all this pressure from the community, and yet the resources that what's interesting is the HPD expends so much resources in just answering all these calls or ticketing or going to court and something's thrown out. And yet, so we're actually investing a lot of money into the homeless crisis, but it's kind of ineffective because the real solution of where we should be directing that money is to actually housing the homeless. There are only 4,000 homeless people on Oahu. There's 6,000. It's doable, but we are just, and so and you mentioned the ACLU, and obviously the ACLU is holding the government agencies accountable, right? And so when the mayor's representative keeps saying that there's only enough temporary housing for just 2,000 individuals on Oahu, then I mean, come on, it's like all of this is kind of pointless. I'll talk about, when we talk about what meetings we've attended, I'll share some of the meetings I've been going to this past month. But thank you very much, Lieutenant Scuccio, for affirming many of the points and being so clear and transparent about what the real challenges are. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Treasurer Iwamoto. Do we have any further questions from the board or the community? Can we have you step up to the mic, please? Thank you. Right there. Mic is right there.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah, and could we get your name?
My name is Dana Schoenberg. I have been a resident in the area for about 4 years now. Thank you for having me. Happy holidays, everybody. Mine is a branch, not of houselessness or homelessness, but crime itself. It's people who pretend to be houseless or
use a situation that looks like houselessness. They set up camp on the sidewalk very specifically, and they make it look like it's their home. It is not their home. They are running a business selling what I can only imagine. I don't know if it's weed or meth. I don't know what drugs are. Cars stop, there's an exchange, and they go about their days. There is a regular aspect to this. It's very organized. It is beyond, these people are low level. You can tell by the license plates, somebody is profiting from this. These people are just living day to day. I have called the vice unit, the investigative unit. Is this time to get to the federal level? Somebody's bringing the drugs in, somebody's giving it to these people, somebody's giving them a schedule. They come, they go with the bicycles. This is an organized for-profit business. This is not somebody following the law of the paddle. They are conducting an enterprise. What do we do? I keep calling the cops. By the time they get there, I can't prove what they're handing out to people. And quite frankly, I don't want to be a target. I've taken pictures. I sent in, as Lynn and Councilman Santos knows, every time. And it's not about I love of camping equipment. It's about the drug running.
Is it a specific area?
Yes, it is at Waihau Mini Park, across from the Imperial Plaza. Where Book Up is, across from 7-Eleven, Kaiser Permanente, and the liquor. What do we do? This is pervasive. This is law enforcement. This has nothing to do with providing these people shelter. But they're masking as having, they're making little shelters so they can come and go and not have the rain on them, while they're dealing with drugs.
Well, thanks for bringing it to the board. There's nothing that the board can do right now.
Right.
But at this level here, by reporting it, you have Lieutenant Sugusio, you've reported it to Vice.
But it doesn't go there, is what I'm saying.
Sometimes things move a little bit slower to get to the root cause. So it may appear that nothing may be happening right now, but I'm pretty sure that they would be doing something. Because once you reported it, and if there's some type of enterprise, I'm pretty sure that law enforcement is looking at it.
Well, I don't know if the lieutenant is still here to address that issue. Because I'd like to know if it's coming from higher ups, not the officers know me right now. It's gotten out of hand.
Yeah, so we do work in conjunction with federal agencies, yeah. So the ATF, DEA, and stuff like that. We have HIDA. It's a high impact. We usually work in conjunction with these federal agencies in regards to narcotics coming into the state, yeah. So at the lower level, you did call the right location, yeah. You did call narcotics vice, and then they usually send an investigator to investigate the location to see if there is narcotics going on at that location. Sometimes we do a knock and burn compared to a buy bust type of investigation. So a knock and burn is we usually go and either speak to the person and tell them, hey, you know what, we're keeping an eye on you. You shouldn't be doing these kind of illegal activities, and if it kind of continues, then we're going to take a little bit deeper action, right? But the other way is we could do some buy bust, but you got to realize that a lot of these customers are very known to these people, right? So it's very hard to infiltrate certain organizations or certain groups. Also, I just wanted to touch on something else too, right? In regards to your observations, it's considered reasonable suspicion. In order for law enforcement to make an arrest, we need probable cause.
Right.
And this is the hard part. In order to prosecute, we need beyond reasonable doubt. So that is the gambit that we have to go through in order to prosecute these cases. A lot of these drug cases go to drug court, hope probation, lot of these guys are, you know, kind of recycled out pretty quickly. But maybe that's something we could take up with prosecutors or our legislatures. Yeah.
Okay, so in the meanwhile, though, I can't.
Continue to call. So continue to call anytime you see any type of illegal activity. Continue to call. We'll go over there and try to see if there's any criminality that we can address. But just realize this: just because someone calls us and said that they're doing narcotics in a tent, this is how very specific the law is. Yeah, if someone is in a tent on the street, that is considered sojourn. Yeah, in order for us to go into that tent, we need a search warrant, a probable cause.
Yes, I
So
know.
we cannot just, yeah. So it's very difficult in the constitutionality of it. It's real difficult for us just to, we got to call. Somebody said you guys are doing drugs in a tent and then just go in a tent. We can't do that, right? We have to either smell the narcotic or actually see them doing the narcotic. But once that tent is closed, it's just like a closed container. And that tent becomes like a home. It's sojourn, So we would need a search warrant to enter.
So they're not smoking it. They're not smoking it.
Yeah.
They're
So
using
that's
it.
what makes it more difficult, yeah. So we don't have
Like,
any,
it's an office.
yeah. Because obviously they see us
So why
coming
can't
and
I
they
get rid
hide
of this
that.
office on the- Why can't I at least, this is the neighborhood with kids. This was supposed to be the park for people to sit and eat lunch, for kids to learn how to ride a bike. Why, again, I understand the difference between somebody being homeless and sleeping and using it as a home. These people, half of the people leave at the end of the evening when close business, then they return. Why is that allowed? Now, I know that you have no probable cause to say that it is not a home, but as a civil matter, the burden is still on them at some point. If it's a civil matter, to get rid of them, I don't need the burden of beyond. Yeah, there's a different burden and the burden. So why can't we at least clear part of the people? I have never called the police on anybody that's actually camped out there or needed a place to rest their head. I have only called people who were in this enterprise. And there were people who were legitimate, houseless, not bothering anybody.
Okay, ma'am, thank you very much for bringing that to our attention.
That's the difference.
We appreciate that. And I think Lieutenant Segusho has addressed it. Just give a tonight. As some of our board members have mentioned, we do need a different platform. And that's why we have our action committee meeting that we're
Right,
having. So
but
we can have
I want this to be a criminal action committee. It's not just, what do we do with the houseless people? This is separate, and people keep thinking that I'm saying, get the houseless off the street. I'm saying, get criminal enterprise off the street.
Thank you.
Masquerading as houseless. That's,
We appreciate you making that distinction.
yeah,
Thank you.
and that's the.
Thank you for being here today. Member Davis.
The only thing I think that I wanted to add to that is, I think one of those first steps is to identify the different categories, who are newly homeless. The chances of getting them into houses is much higher than people who have been homeless and I appreciate that you always use residentially challenged people or persons, and it's something I'm trying to practice, so thank you. But, those who have been residentially challenged for a longer period of time have collected more belongings, are less likely to move into transitional housing, right? So how do we better identify what these different categories are? And one of those being, again, people who maybe don't fall into that category of, being residentially challenged, but, are utilizing the persona of that, maybe to conduct, things that are more criminally leaning. So I think, again, that's part of what we need to look at, and again, address the situation from, multiple perspectives, so that we can, better understand what those pieces are.
Thank you, Member Davis. Any other comments, questions from board members?
Yeah, I want to say something.
Hi there.
It's a permissive society.
Sorry, if we can get your name, sir.
Franklin Chong. People fall through the cracks. Your responsibility on the board is not to search for solutions or the root causes of any of this. Your responsibility is to move the homeless to another neighborhood for them to deal with. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Chung, thank you for your comments this evening. Any other community members? Okay. Good evening.
I'm Mary Ellen Williams. I'm actually Dana's neighbor, and so I know the same park. I just wanted to say thank you to the police. I call them regularly, and it's gotten to the point where I just briefly mention the name of the park, and they're like, "We'll be there right away." So unfortunately, that's how well known the park is. The other element that happens in the park is violence. So probably 2 nights a week at least, around Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I call the police because there's a man that runs after a woman, sometimes with objects. They're usually throwing things at each other. And unfortunately, the police come and do their job. And of course, the people don't want to press charges. The woman doesn't want to press charges. So that's a continuous pattern. But it does attract that kind of violent activity in the neighborhood too. And it's like all times of night. But the police have been very responsive. They handle the folks in the park very well. They're very civil. I've never seen them, behave anything but in the most proper way. So I've got to commend them for that and appreciate it. And the other thing, the last time I talked to the officers that responded, they had a very good suggestion, which I believe in. I just haven't had time to act on it. But you actually having residents use the park. And I would love to learn how we can partner with the Parks Department because it could use some loving care. They actually, when we went and talked to our councilman, he helped get more cleanup done in the parks. That was really, really helpful because it was kind of trashed, besides what the people that live there do. So, but there's like other things that we could do. But if we got residents and neighborhood people to actually use the park, it'd probably make it less desirable to sell drugs and live there. And there is a van that's there all the time. It's a gold van. It never moves. I don't know how it can stay there 24/7 legally. So, I mean, it's there every single day. I think I moved a couple feet from one end of the block of the curb to the other end. But that's about it.
Do you have a license plate, ma'am?
You know what? I'll look. I'll call it in. So,
It's owned by one of the restaurants.
it's on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And the street is in transition from being allegedly owned by the
Yeah.
partners to the city, to the state. So
Yeah, it's that street that's in legal limbo or wherever. Bias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Comments tonight. We have a community member, Daniel, online with a question or comment.
Hi, good evening, Neighborhood Board 11. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, just real quick before I wanted to start my thing, is this the time for community concerns and residents' concerns as well? Or
We
is that
do
later
have
down?
that on the agenda.
Oh, okay, is that right now or is that?
We're
not
still
yet?
on HPD. Do you have a question for HPD?
Oh, no, sorry. I will wait until the community concerns then. My apologies.
Okay. Thank you for waiting. I appreciate that. Okay, if no further questions for HPD, Lieutenant Segusho, thank you. It has been a great 2023. Sometimes not so great, but we always thank you for being here for us and answering all the questions that come your way. So happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you. You guys have a great night. I'll be on. I'll just won't be on the screen. I gotta cook dinner for the kids.
Thank you. Okay, the time is now 6:39 PM. We are moving on to board business. We have a vacancy and need to fill a position in sub-district 1. So do we have any nominations at this time? Okay, we'll move that over to our next agenda in January. So for everyone out there and the board members as well, if you have any neighbors that would like to join our wonderful board here, let them know we have a vacancy in sub-district 1. 3.2, approval of the October 24th, 2023 meeting minutes. Does anyone have any comments, corrections, suggestions?
Well, yes, I have just a couple of quick comments.
Sure.
And additions, and I can submit this to Spencer later. You know, in the minutes, when we get the minutes, I think it should have a little more detail, and, not detailed from the standpoint that it gets down to the grassroots portion, but at least you capture the highlights of some of the discussions that's made. For example, I've talked about infrastructure, particularly in Pensacola. And I brought about the concerns about for first responders and their response times coming down in Pensacola. And I just recently saw that they just, I'm not sure when it was, that they approved with speed bumps on Pensacola. Yeah, and so they put speed bumps on, but it's not high enough. And it's already complete. And so it looks like we probably have to do it again. If you just go down the 3 speed bumps that they just put on, doesn't really serve a purpose. But anyway, it's part of the infrastructure. And then the other portion on 6 residents and community concerns I mentioned, and there was a big discussion reference affordable housing. And one of the things that part of the discussion was to ask the mayor and the city council to look at considering lowering the AMI to less than 80%, and also set aside some of these new condos and developments for potential Section 8 for people, so that can be affordable housing, because we're building these high rises that's going above the 150 TOD to 400, but yet we don't have enough vacancies to house people because the AMI might be too high. So I think that as a matter of record, we need to ensure that some of these salient points are captured in the minutes, so that when we go back and review, at least it's there to talk about it. Because if I read it now, it just says that just brought up a concern, and that was it.
Yeah. Thank you, Member Mariano. We'll make a note of that, and I think Spencer's making a note of that too. And we also have, it's on YouTube, the recordings for these meetings as well, if people want to refer to that. But we'll definitely make note of having more details. Thank you.
So,
Second is amended.
Okay,
so I'll write this up and
Yeah.
give that to you and submit that.
okay. Thank you, Member Morano, Member Chang. 3.3, attendance at other meetings. Would anyone like to talk about their attendance at other meetings? Treasurer Iwamoto online.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. So earlier this month, I attended it was a conference called the 2023 Hawaii Homelessness and Housing Conference, hosted by Partners in Care and Hawaii Appleseed. Basically, it was 2 days, and they speak about all the issues that we're raising. And, there is a presentation by the ACLU. There was a speech on the other side there was a speech by the mayor. So yeah, there's a lot of people who go and who are working on these issues. Also, kind of in relationship to that is the point in time count that's coming up in January, specifically January 23rd. I'm going to enter the sign up form up into the chat because it is a volunteer driven opportunity for us to actually get a real time count. I mentioned earlier that there were 4,000 homeless individuals, unhoused individuals, or unsheltered individuals on Oahu. And that number comes from this annual point in time count. And I've been participating with this for several years now. You actually go and you actually have a conversation with somebody who's unhoused, and you ask them a series of questions, and you use your phone app to collect data that becomes part of a larger group. Also, another meeting I attended was the Democratic Party District 25 Council meeting. And why this is important is that we voted to adopt as 3 of our 5 legislative priorities, 3 different resolutions coming out of our neighborhood board. So when we look at the impact our resolutions have. They or they do provide an opportunity to build coalitions with other entities and organizations out in the larger community so that we can join forces and work on these issues together. Those three neighborhood board resolutions were lowering the voting age to 16, consumer protections for condo owners, and closing loopholes for corruption at the state legislature. So those are the three resolutions that we voted on formally to make part of our legislative priorities. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Treasurer Umamoto, for sharing. Any other board members?
I guess it was probably late October. I attended a committee meeting sponsored by Senator Sharon Moriwaki regarding the non-construction at Kemoku, the park at Kemoku. And it was to address grievances from various neighbors in the area, the condominiums that border the development. The issue were numerous items were noise, working on the weekends, working past hours, getting a way to understand what the law was and what the sound limitations were. And it was an opportunity for the various neighbors to voice their concerns over the noise, trash, drinking, and just basically bad behavior. As they're going through the neighborhood and going into various, because they were renting parking stalls in various condominiums. So it gave a chance for the community to voice their concerns. I will say to Nan's credit, since the second meeting, that's the one I attended, it has improved remarkably. So I think that the meeting that Senator Moriwaki set up was very fruitful in helping the community address their concerns with Nan and the construction is going. So,
Thank you for sharing, Member Chang.
one more thing. I brought up those issues with respect to the roadway and sidewalk potentially being a sinkhole and a tree that was being eaten up by termites. They've actually staked out that area to be looked at and fixed, and the tree has been staked out to be removed. Hasn't happened yet, but at least there was some action on it. Still no action on the parking meters, but we can only hope. This is the season miracles happen. So if you're out there listening, we're looking for that miracle to occur maybe in the month of December for the city to address. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Chang. Any small progress in progress, so thank you. First, Vice Chair Chu.
This is a good time to provide like a very quick 1-minute update about stuff that we have from the conference.
Yep.
Okay, so
Can't hear you.
COVID. I don't have COVID, sorry. That's not what but so Shirley and myself, we attended the neighborhood board conference of chairs where the neighborhood commission got together all of the chairs from the different neighborhood boards. And there are just a few notes that I have that are relevant to our neighborhood board that I thought we should all just that I should share so that we were all on the same page. They said that they're going to provide, or they have already provided $1,000 for outreach for our board under the NCO. And so that money is under the neighborhood commission. We don't hold onto it ourselves, but we can use it for like Wallowa broadcasting, postage, whatever else. I think Spencer, we just make the ask to you if we want to use that money for anything. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that that's there. As was mentioned earlier, time limits for speaking, just during the minute rule. The neighborhood commission made it very clear that the neighborhood board, we are responsible for our minutes, and that's Spencer. He, although they do have their own kind of like minute by minute kind of briefing, we are responsible as a board for writing down our own minutes, and so we shouldn't expect the neighborhood commission or neighborhood assistants to be doing that for us. They also want would like us to keep track of accomplishments, and so we're hoping to have like an end of the year report with all the accomplishments that happened on the board. So if there's anything that you're like, oh, this is really noteworthy, we should remember this, we should have it in the report, just hold on to that, share with Spencer, that way we can get that in. And yeah, oh, and then there's last thing, there's a neighborhood board Google Drive, so everyone try to check to make sure when you get the chance at home that you can access that Google Drive, does that have all of the meeting material on it?
Thank you, first Vice Chair Shi. Oh, and they also talked about shirts at some point for neighborhood board members, so I think that might be coming down the pike.
So are they gonna have another meeting? For this?
Possibly.
My understanding is about the conference chair happens once a year.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Recently, we've been having more. It's been like almost twice a year,
Okay.
but no word yet.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Not good enough for each other.
Are there other joint uses too?
So I think, I think this is something that previous boards have kind of looked at, because again, the gentleman made the comment about, how one of our charters is to move the homeless to another area. But what we need to do is kind of work together synergistically to kind of blend everything in to have a solution for the mayor and the city council to consider. And we'll kind of move that out, and I think this is the venue that can do that. Our committee, action committee is our nucleus to talk more on the topic, and then can bring it up to the board and bring it up to the council chairs.
That reminds me,
Yeah.
there was one other thing that was mentioned during the meeting. They're looking to see if it's possible to have like a committee or conference where they get all of the neighborhood boards together. I know logistically, Lloyd seemed like a little hesitant just because it's a logistical nightmare, but I think they were open to the idea of exploring that. So on that, thanks for reminding me.
So Spencer, if you can keep us posted in advance, so we can try to attend.
Absolutely.
And I do want to point out that we are one of the few boards that have two vice chairs, so just wanted to make a note to make sure that not just one vice chair is included in the list, but both of ours. Thank you. Any other?
I have one more point, if I may,
Oh.
that addresses both the homelessness and the housing issue, especially in light of the upcoming presentation. Not that I'm tied to the upcoming presentation anyway. As far as affordable housing shortage and general housing shortage, there's a sacred cow that none of us can touch, and that is keep country country. That's part of the problem. We cannot build because of zoning, and we cannot build on land that we otherwise could build for housing. So to have real courage in challenging this issue in the action committee, in all neighborhood board meetings, would somebody have the courage to bring that up? No, that's a sacred cow that cannot be touched. So you're just talking within a very narrow parameter. And it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to lead to any kind of solutions.
Well, if you have a solution, come to our action committee meeting and we'd be happy to entertain.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. Moving on to item 3.4, it is now 6:54 p.m. Consideration of a resolution regarding the building of new hotels and condo hotels in the Ala Moana Kaka'ako neighborhood. I believe you all received a copy in your email of that resolution. Spencer, are we able to pull that up? Just so our community members can see it as well. And I acknowledge Treasurer Kim Popo Iwamoto for drafting it as a result of all the conversations that we have been having regarding things that are going on in our neighborhood.
I'm frozen like that.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Reese.
Okay.
Oh, happened again.
Hi, this is Caroline Farringer. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Would it be possible to read the resolution for members and guests?
Yes, that is the plan. Thank you, Member Farringer. We're pulling it up right now. So I appreciate your patience.
Right on. Thank you, guys.
Our pleasure.
Did you ask if one of the other members has it from home?
Yeah. Are any of you able to pull up?
I have it. I have it. Resolution, should I read it?
Yes.
Are you able to pull it up on the screen?
Meanwhile, should I read it out loud while you're pulling it up?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, resolution opposing the construction of new hotels in the Ala Moana Kaka'ako neighborhood. Whereas Ala Moana Hotel and Pagoda Hotel are the only legal short-term rentals via grandfather clause in the Ala Moana Kaka'ako neighborhood. Whereas there is no foreseeable financial resources or identifiable dates of construction for transit stations in the Ala Moana Kaka'ako neighborhood, no justification to continue its TOD special district status, and no reason to continue issuing permits to construct new hotels in the Ala Moana Kaka'ako neighborhood. Whereas many families, single workers, and students rely on permanent affordable housing in the Ala Moana Kaka'ako neighborhood to keep them close to desirable school and university campuses and jobs in the neighborhood and in Waikiki. Whereas the construction of new hotels in the Ala Moana Kaka'ako neighborhood will continue to elevate property values, which will drive up residential rental rates, which will reduce the number of permanent affordable rental units in the area. Be it resolved that the Ala Moana Kaka'ako Neighborhood Board Number 11 opposes the construction of new hotels in the Ala Moana Kaka'ako neighborhood, and be it further resolved that copies of this resolution opposing the construction of new hotels in the Ala Moana Kaka'ako neighborhood be transmitted to the Hawaii Community Development Authority, council members of the city and county of Honolulu, and to the mayor of the city and county of Honolulu. And that's it.
Thank you, Treasurer Iramoto. Discussion from the board?
Yes, Treasurer.
I have some comments, yes.
Would you consider adding a whereas? Because actually two whereas. One would be that whereas having these hotels will increase traffic and already congested and narrow roadways that's around those hotels. And then the other part is, this is just a hotel, like the Pagoda is separate. But, we now have some of these condos that's having multi-use, that will be considered part hotel, part condo, part rental. And that's some of these things that we're looking at. Just a thought.
If I can respond, Chair Lee.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. So yes, so yes, I'm happy to, I just threw the first draft out there. I'm not attached to anything at all. I'm even comfortable if somebody has a problem with one of the whereases, removing it. So yes, I'm comfortable adding a whereas regarding traffic congestion. About the condo hotels that you're referencing, those would still be considered a hotel. So condo hotels are a subset of hotels.
Okay.
So it's already included.
Okay. Thank you.
That's okay. Okay, so we dropped a copy of the resolution in the chat, just so folks online may be able to see it, since we're unable to pull it up on the screen right now.
Okay, so was that Behringer?
I have a couple other points I just want to throw out there, and maybe somebody's taking notes. This is Caroline. And in the whereas where you note the hotels, there is a new hotel called Renaissance by Marriott opening in February of 24. on Kapiolani. I don't know if you're all aware of it. The signs have gone up now. That is another hotel that will be opening in February 2024. And I'd be happy to get you the number of rooms that they have, if that would be helpful. And the only other suggestion I have for the resolution is that at some point we say, if you are all in agreement with this, that our priority is housing for our residents and not new hotels. Housing for the people that need housing in our state. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Berenger. Any other board members?
I think we need a motion.
I was gonna say, can we motion to vote? Yeah, I'll just talk really loud. Can we motion to vote?
Yes.
Well,
We have to, that's
you
for
have
the
to-
motion.
you have to have a motion to adopt
Okay,
this.
motion to adopt the resolution.
Yes, okay. Okay, so first, Vice Chair Chi made the motion to adopt the resolution, seconded by.
And I would like to thank Member Lamoto for drafting this and proposing it, because it's so desperately needed. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Iwamoto.
So the discussion, second, no discussion?
Okay.
Okay, so if it's okay, then if we were to add the extra whereas for the increased traffic to put in that resolution.
And Member Carpenter.
And Member Berenger talking about considering.
That's the third whereas.
Oh, is it third whereas?
If you look at it,
I-
it's the third, whereas many families, single workers and students rely on permanent affordable housing in the Moana compound neighborhood to keep them close to desirable school and university families, even jobs in the neighborhood. Like to keep. I think that covers.
Her addition was to state that the board priority is to.
Okay,
About that.
okay.
Maybe that includes editing that word.
Yeah, maybe it just needs a little editing.
Here's my English.
Yeah.
That's she.
The only thing I also wanted to note is if we are going to have the whereas about the hotels where you note the pagoda and you note the Ala Moana Hotel, the Renaissance Hotel is quite large and it is already built. So if you are going to name them, you should try to name as many as possible, I think.
Okay, thank you, Madam Secretary. So the random.
But I'm not
Oh,
sure.
If I may just clarify, the language of the resolution basically says that those who are grandfathered in. The Renaissance, thank you, Member Fanger, for bringing this up, but I believe the Renaissance came in through the TOD special status.
Right.
And that's, so it's kind of a little bit different.
I
And
understand.
we're basically saying, and we're basically saying, oh, please turn off that spigot. Basically, like, like stop letting them come in through the special status when there's no evidence that we're actually ever going to be a special TOD district, because we may never get a station, so that's why I raised that distinction. And it's also date specific to when the resolution passed. Technically, it's not a hotel yet. I mean, technically it's not whatever, but a good point. Thank you. I missed that when I did a search.
So the amended portion for the third whereas, to go with Caroline Berenger,
Member Berenger.
is that whereas the priority of neighborhood board number 11 is so that many families, single workers, and in the end. And then the other whereas to add that whereas the consideration be given that the new construction, the hotel takes into effect the increased traffic congestion around the surrounding neighborhood of the said hotel.
Okay.
So that's the two recommended amendments. And if there's any other discussion.
Yeah, can I suggest, Chair Lee, that what I'm hearing Member Farringer state is that the whereas that talks about families and single workers and students is worthy of being a new resolved, basically be it further resolved that the Ala Moana Kakako Neighborhood Board number 11 supports, primarily supports families, single workers. And then we, even though it's a whereas, also turn that whereas language into a supportive, affirming statement in the be it resolved. Is that what you were saying, Member Farringer? Okay. So yes, we can list it as a whereas, and we can also list it as a secondary be it resolved. So our statement is stronger. We may then want to change the title to be opposing construction of new hotels and supporting affordable housing for permanent residents in the Ala Moana neighborhood, Kakako neighborhood. So it's it says two things.
So just,
For Davis and then. Sorry, I'm just wondering if that first whereas, just to kind of directly state what new hotels and condo, who that currently benefits, right? So like make it clear, like whereas the construction of new hotels and condo hotels benefit transient stays, and who's that benefiting? Then be it resolved, like our goal is to support. Does that kind of make sense? It does not make any sense. I'm trying to, like, how do we clearly state, whereas the current status in building new hotels, who does that benefit versus what our goal is in supporting, or be it resolved that we want to support, permanent residents here in our neighborhood?
I think your point's well taken, but I think the way the resolution is written, it's already, the intent is already there to kind of cover those whereas and then be it resolved. So, Madam Chair, I would suggest that if it's okay with Treasurer Coco, since she wrote this and she has it, if she could modify it right now, do that, and then we can come back to this later on in the meeting. Once it's,
She says yes.
fixed, and once we do that, we can come back and then we have a clear resolution of what we want, what the adjustments, and then take.
Then we can vote. Okay.
Is that okay?
Treasurer Emoto, is that, or?
Yes, can we move the table?
Yeah.
We can bring it back this meeting.
This meeting.
Wait, yeah, I will finish it. I will do it right now. So let's just push it down further, and I'll redraft it right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so she will do that, so.
Okay. Are there any objections to what we've decided on as of, okay?
No, just delay it.
Okay, thank you, Board. Thank you, Treasurer Emoto. So we will get back to this agenda item so we can vote on it later in the meeting. Moving on to, time now is 7:09, presentations. We have Ward Village Community Update with Kailani Tadaro, Senior Vice President of Planning and Development for Ward Village. Welcome back.
Aloha Board. Thank you, Charlie, for welcoming me. Here's good? Okay. I logged on. So Spencer, tell me if I got it right here. My hot spot.
Your name again?
Kailani Tadaro. And I'm here as the Senior Vice President for Planning for Ward Village Howard Case. Aloha.
Member Mariana, it's on our agenda.
So. That work for everyone?
Yeah, they seem well.
Just do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, good. Hit it on there. So thank you. So if I could start, wanted to give a park update. We do have quite a bit of construction and new sidewalks going in. When I was here earlier this year, I had a lot of renderings. So thank you for those of you who come through and, live and work and play in Ward Village, because some of the construction's waning, and I have some great after photos to show you, from where we were last year. So just to reorient our master plan, and then We do have about 8 acres of open space that does include 3 new parks, 2 of which are under construction. And then, eventually we'll bring on another park, Calais Park, which we named since I had been before all of you last time. And here's some just new renderings. The upper left-hand corner is a vignette of the Victoria Ward Mackay Park. And so that will be opening next year with the Moana elevated bridge project that DOT has. And then the upper right-hand corner is the new playground. We've got a lot of body heat, we got a lot of kids, a lot of COVID kids. So we're working on more playgrounds to supplement Koloalu playground. And so you can see we're doing, a big age range and a variety of playground equipment that will come with the Mauka portion of Victoria Ward, because it's basically 3.5 acres, right? And it's separated by Awahi Street. So we're creating zones for families and recreational users. And then on the lower left-hand side, this is adjacent Kalai O Kukula Eo Park, which we also refer to as Kalai. And this is adjacent to the Ulana, our 100% reserved housing project, which is actively under construction. And I have some updated photos for you. And then lower right-hand corner, just a nice, panel of the Victoria Ward Malka Park taken from what will become the new Halikuwila Street extension. So, we are narrowing Awahi Street, but we're also creating a new east-west corridor. We had a pretty hearty discussion last time I was here about how we're trying to work and break traffic through and create more neighborhood blocks and additional bike lanes. And so that'll be the new view looking Mackay when we open up Halikuwila. And so here we did it. So for those of you familiar, we got a new terrific bakery, Japanese Hokkaido rice flour bakery. There are a lot of lines, so you gotta leave some time to go there. But you can see we narrowed the street. It's now 1 lane in each direction. We have dedicated bike lanes coming in, and then we widen the sidewalk, and you can see all the landscaping kind of coming in to create a safe buffer, slightly elevated. Some of those pedestrian safety aspects I had covered when we were here. So this is fronting the Ward Entertainment Center building. And as we take view looking back at that same block, you have Buca de Beppo on the left, and then you kind of get a feel. We created more outdoor dining and open seating, supplementing similarly to what we have in front of South Shore Market. Some of the seating is restaurant, some of it's not. And it's out there all the time, and we're seeing a lot of great residential and use throughout the day, which is great. And then we created, we have a lot of runners, a lot of strollers, and to just allow people to kind of choose their modality, really, right? And then the bike lane will come in when we repave Awahi Street, when this portion construction is finished. And as we make our way more west, this is the corner of Ko'ula, upper left-hand building, you kind of see that, and then Victoria Place across Awahi Street. And then this is the next increment, the section in front of Ko'ula. So we fondly have been referring to them as our Charlie Brown monkey pod trees, but we have 8 new monkey pod trees, and we're bringing the shade all the way from Queen all the way to Pohokaina, where UFC Gym is. So it's pretty substantial. You can really kind of see all the monkey pods, and already that cooling effect that added shade trees bring to the streets. Just keep moving. Here for more middle in Victoria Ward, Malka looking Mackay again, and then we'll be raising the park again. A lot of that pedestrian and active play separation from the street. And then if we were at the Halikuwila extension, just kind of keep that same perspective. We do have about a size of about a football field of open rec running space. So like a very real active run zone. And then, creating kind of pods of areas, to just kind of sit and be alone. A new crosswalk and intersection. The light signalization is actually going in now if you come into this part of Awahi Street. And then the construction fencing you see on the top panel, that the Victoria Ward Mackay Park is actively under construction right now. And I have some updated construction photos for you. And this will bring us, more towards Ward Avenue, looking back at the full stretch of Alwahi Street. And then this being the new realigned Alwahi Street with Ward Avenue corner. So here's an aerial, there is quite a bit going on at Alwana Boulevard. This is a joint use bike and pedestrian elevated bridge. So DOT, their contractor, Mira Construction is moving along and they're looking at a end of March opening of the sidewalk components. And then Ward Village will be able to come in, finish the landscaping, put in the signage and the lighting. And then it'll open into the park midsummer of next year. And so just kind of an exciting peekaboo that's happening, and then an active construction site. It's a little dark, but you can see we essentially need to mound up to about 18 feet to get to, the bridge clearance. And DOT set that height because state highways, that is a major truck thoroughfare, so it has to have the clearance requirement. That's why it's up so high. We have received a lot of questions about that. Now the forming is happening. And then it'll have a dedicated ADA path, and then obviously the bike and running path down. And there will be stairs if you just want to cut it short. We have a lot of infrastructure happening. Most of I believe all of our night work is done. So our apologies if any of that impacted anyone. We were able to kind of really cinch that up and faster to not impact daytime commute traffics. But there's a lot going on all levels. We're doing a lot of water supply work, sewer upgrades, and a lot of electrical improvements in the area. So I wanted to provide a project update, similar to how I had did. So Victoria Place will open next year. We had a nice Pauhana lunch for our crews. And then, the park is being constructed in parallel with Victoria Ward Park, Victoria Place, excuse me. And so that will all open together next year. And then the Park Ward Village, so this is the old gym site, a lot of, the finished Ward Avenue and Alwaki corners in the upper left rendering there. And then it's just a status photo. We're starting, the tower work on the lower left. And then on the right, more of a peekaboo of kind of what's happening behind the fence. And then you can kind of see the double construction fence because we're also realigning the road. So some of that road work is happening behind the fence as well, behind the mouse, for those of you who can kind of see it. This area to Alwahi Street will cinch Malka, and then that will be the new connector to Pohokaina. And so that's really a game changer right now. Alwahi Street doesn't connect. And so in addition to Halikuala, we'll also have the Pohokaina and Alwahi Street connection. And then you can kind of see the peekaboo of the Makai Park, closer to the harbor as well. So if we move across Ward Avenue, Ulana, I spoke about this, a reserve housing. It's moving fast. This is a big block project. It has about a 1 acre park in addition to industrial space that we're building and bringing back that light industrial tenancy to Kaka'ako in addition to a district parking garage. And so they're moving, we have a large crew, about 700 people daily, moving through the trades on site, and then a nice finish photo that we're marching towards as well to open in 2025. So it's great. South Shore Market has seen some new concepts come in. So I encourage everybody to come check it out. High Life opened. Uray did a partnership with Makina, a longtime retail tenant of ours. And then Wild Pine is a new concept in the Ward Entertainment Center building, next to Men's Warehouse that just opened. And they're a spin-off concept of Nalu for all the Nalu followers, because they have a huge juicer following. And so this is one of their new food concepts in cafe. We have more coming. So just some peekaboo. Dean DeLuca's coming to Ka'ula, lower left-hand corner. Nori Bar's coming. Planted is soon to open. And Ali'i, this is Latour's vegan concept bakery. and grab and go. And so we're really excited to welcome them into the neighborhood as well. And, just a recap since I've been here, this summer we held a series of reading and lectures with authors. We did a partnership with Village Books. We had our first Saturdays. We do those every month where we feature Instagram, culinary pop-up, or we'll work with one of our Ward Village tenants, and we've been pairing it with music. We had our Founders Day, our signature park festival. It was themed on urban parks. And so we had Trees for Honolulu, Hawaii Audubon Society was there, Surfrider was there. The Kaka'ako Eco Rotary had a booth. So that's great. That's kind of building. We're trying to create really a support network for our community partners and nonprofit in Kaka'ako and Moana who are focused on bringing more green spaces to the density that we have. And then just a current lineup of the number of restaurants and retail shops. Our specialized neighborhood services include Straub's and the doctor's offices and the gyms and the PT offices and pharmacies that we have. And, we still are maintaining pretty sizable commercial tenant spaces as well. And there's just some great photos. We did our Konanui Night series. We're really excited about the park that we're hosting all these community events in now is the interim park. And then when we reopen, we could push the scale of community events that we're able to bring. In the upper right-hand corner, that was one of our lecture series. We did a summer exhibit with Historic Hawaii Foundation that spoke about the preservation efforts and adoption of IBM from its original tenancy and, IBM Pacific headquarters really into adaptive reuse. And so that was fun, Historic Hawaii Foundation. And then, we're here for our community. Some great events we were able to be a part of with other community partners since I was here earlier, and just a summary of our donations. And many of our employees, which are about 100 now, serve on many boards and volunteer actively throughout the community. Just some fun events that we are a part of. And, so I just encourage everyone, we do have a construction monthly update. There's some new board members here who maybe don't have my contact information, but I encourage anyone in the audience or, new members to sign up when we do these monthly. And they include our project manager name. So, we keep getting everybody accountable to noise. Thank you, Jeannie. My apologies. And, things that you see, so that we can promptly fix loose steel plates. We'll do that immediately. And as we enter, the season, we got a lot going on. We're doing a night Aloha music series for the first time every Friday night in December outside of South Shore Market. And we're going to pair it with a projected laser holiday light show on the South Shore Market building for the duration of the Aloha music. So we have some great new artists that some we've worked with before and some new ones. And then this is on our website. And so these are all free. So I encourage everybody to stop through. And just my email address for those of you who don't have it already. And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Starr, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Questions from the board. Second Vice Chair Farinas.
Thank you for your presentation, Ka'iulani, and I love the peekaboos, and I love to see the progression. And I just have a question about that elevated slope, regarding to the new bridge that's being built. And this may be rhetorical, is it handicap accessible?
Oh, yeah,
Say
absolutely.
Kukunas with the wheelchair? And then is the slope also taken into consideration where it's easily traversed for someone who has challenges of, walking and?
Yeah, there's 2 sloping paths up, and they're not bombable by skateboards. There are some rubble strips, and I can't recall the treatment offhand, but there's a texturized treatment to the path to separate the bikes from the walkers and runners. So like if you're kind of like checking out the scene and cruise, you're going to hit the rubble strip before you enter the walking path. But it is all at ADA compliance.
Okay. Yeah. And then, all comedy aside, in terms of, the e-bikes, the e-scooters, all those electronic devices, are they gonna have access to this pathway as well? Because, you know, in our neighborhoods, we've already had
Yeah.
concerns, complaints from the residents that we're already jockeying for space on just the regular sidewalk.
Sure. We will have signage. They're not allowed.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the case now for the sidewalks and, you know, you'll see some of the rental companies, there are a handful of people who have the personal devices, right? But they've been using the bike lanes, we've noticed, and they're not like up on the sidewalk by South Shore Market in front of Ward Entertainment Center. But the park will have dedicated signage. Yeah. Yeah. Enforcement, maybe a little challenge, maybe they have to go really fast, but you know, we are actively not wanting the mix.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Like I said, it's really exciting to see just how things have progressed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is.
Member Mariano?
Is the park construction from the old ward warehouse going to be torn down?
It is. So, the area that Member Rice is referring to is the remnant portion of the garage that was attached or servicing the ward warehouse. So that is slated for our project Collide. And, we do anticipate the demolition of that being in the first quarter next year. And, that will be, when it is scheduled, it'll be put into our monthly construction update. Yeah, it'll be added. It's not in right now.
Well, it's just people care.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, great presentation. Is the bridge gonna be open 24/7?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so with that in mind, you know, sufficient lighting on the bridge. But have there been consideration for like a roaming security to kind of go there to ensure that it remains open? So no one can really park on the bridge?
Yeah.
And so if we can have that, that type of consideration, then it makes it more accessible.
Mhm.
And then I like the park, more parks and stuff. So, just consideration for lighting, on the ground lighting.
Yeah.
for People to use.
Sure. So there's no uplighting permitted by land use ordinance, but we do have a lot of downlighting on the path and there's integrated lighting into the walls of the walkway and then over the bridge. So if I could clarify, so the Victoria Ward Park will have closing hours, similar to how our park does now. And that is so that we can enforce any vagrant behavior, typically between the times of like 10 PM and 6 AM. So the bridge will have 24-hour access in, basically there are sidewalks from on either side of Almana Boulevard that take you up and down, right? So just like how the sidewalks open 24 hours, the up ramp to the bridge so you can cross over and back down to the public sidewalk will always be open. But the portions that connect to Kewalo Harbor and then into the park will have closing hours, but they are not gated or fenced. We do have private security because we do the security at Kewalo Harbor at night, and that security effort will roam through so that we can, you know, kind of create layers of security so that residents and any Moana user who's running the path at any, or walking the path at any time, you know, knows that the area is patrolled. No, thank you. It's a big concern. We don't want to create another problem.
Thank you. Any other questions from board members?
I have a question.
Okay.
Did you say in the presentation that Planet Fitness is moving in, or did I miss you?
Planted. It's
It's not the gym.
And the second question is, is UFC gym renting from you guys?
No, they are not. Yeah, they're not our tenant. Mahalo, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And can we get a copy of that presentation as well?
Yeah, I'll work with Spencer on it.
Thank you.
Send you the holiday schedule.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Bailey, for being here today. Feedback. Okay, 4.2, AT&T small cell site with Ms. Elizabeth Sangalay, Director of External Affairs for Hawaii AT&T.
Let me get to things and share screen.
Inhale.
Yeah, I do.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me. My name
No pun intended, right? So.
I never heard that joke before. That's a good one. I'm going to use it in my next meeting. As the chair mentioned, my name is Elizabeth Songole, representing AT&T here today. So this presentation was prompted by an upcoming small cell in your neighborhood. But for my presentation today, I'll be going over that site toward the end. But then before that, just providing an overview of what we're seeing in the network and what's prompted the need for this particular small cell, but also other small cells across the Oahu, and across the country as well. So this chart really shows, I think, what drives a lot of our infrastructure work. As you can see here, since 2007, we've seen our network traffic increase more than 1,000,000%. So 2007 was also when the iPhone came out. So really one of the first smartphones. I think you can remember just thinking back, right? When that came out, we started texting, sending pictures, watching videos, and more apps have come out. And now we live in such an interconnected world. What that means for wireless networks is that places a demand on our networks, and we have to keep up with that demand by doing a variety of things. So these are a few ways we address the demand. The first is adding more spectrum. So this is basically like lanes on a highway. So every single site has a certain number of lanes. Every carrier has different lanes assigned to them. Those are assigned to us, licensed to us by the federal government. And so this is not something that we can just simply go out and get anytime we need it. This is issued by the federal government. And that's why there's a note that says it's a limited resource. So sometimes the infrastructure we build is based on those channels and what those channels can reach in the capacity of each site. So that's one way. Another way is adding spectrum efficiency. Essentially, this is upgrading the technology of each channel or each lane. And so this is when we go from 3G to 4G, 4G LTE to 5G. Like other technology, this is basically the ability to move more data faster, right? So as technology improves, we can change out equipment and we're able to facilitate more traffic on the same channel that, you know, the previous technology was given. So those are two ways of utilizing existing sites. 3 and 4 are really about new infrastructure. So 3 is adding more macro sites. So these are the traditional cell sites you see on rooftops, on top of towers, right, where there's a lot of antennas. These have a large capacity and they also typically have a very broad reach. So these are great when you have a big hookup in the network, essentially. And in rural areas as well, right? It just covers a great geographic area. Small cells, on the other hand, and I'll move to my next slide, which really shows how a small cell works. So small cells, most of the time, is not used to expand coverage. It's really used to supplement the existing network. And so in an area, you might have a macro site. This larger circle, for example, may signify the reach of the macro site. But over time, as that macro site is in more and more demand, people in that area are using more and more data. It can compromise the site. It will be overloaded, which means your network will slow down. The bigger black circle may also shrink as a result. And so the way small cells work is our engineering team will look for areas where we see high demand and identify a spot, if there is one, to install a small cell. And I have more pictures to show what they look like, but they're essentially an antenna on top of a utility pole. So it won't have as many, you know, highway lanes or as channels as a macro site or even the reach. But it will, you know, get at that high demand area and it'll take off the demand from the larger macro site so that it can perform like it should and provide you with, you know, fast and reliable service. And before I move to the sites, the site that we'll be building in this neighborhood, I just want to share a little bit of our technology. I know there's a lot of talk about 5G and what's the status. And so just wanted to share where we're at today in the Hawaii market. For our macro sites, so again, our traditional cell sites, we have a combination of 4G, LTE, and 5G. This is pretty typical as we transition to 5G. It was the same with 4G to 4G, LTE. I think that took about a decade. 5G also works only for 5G capable phones, right? So from the iPhone 12 or the iPhone users. And then similar for Android users, there's a certain model and above that will be compatible for 5G. But there's still a lot of folks, right, with older phones who are still on 4G LTE. And so the bulk of our network is actually still 4G LTE. But again, we're slowly making that transition. Today, all of our small cells that we have built are only 4G LTE. Depending on the area, we may also add a 5G antenna. But again, it just depends on the area and the need that we'll see. And then in the future, I'm sure you've heard a lot about 5G millimeter wave. This is a super, super fast 5G. And that may be coming to Oahu at some point in the near future. We don't have solid right now. But that is something that may be coming as well. And you can see in this diagram that the 4G LTE small cell may have a little bit broader of a reach than a 5G millimeter wave one will be. 5G millimeter wave is really designed for very, very densely populated areas, stadiums, an area like Waikiki, maybe even all of Moana. So it will really just depend on. Okay, so the one coming up in this neighborhood soon is essentially right in front of the Pacifica building. I'm sorry, that's difficult to see. That's the blue antenna there. And then we have a photo simulation here. So you can see this is what the Hawaiian electrical looks like today, no antenna. And I know it's hard to see, but if you can see where my arrow is, this is the antenna. Okay. Alley arm. And so that's the antenna. And also on the pole, we install a couple of radios. And that's pretty much it. So for this particular site, the network need is that there is network, but this particular street is right in between two macro sites. So this street is kind of on the edge. So this is really just to enhance coverage in this particular area, probably for pedestrian traffic, folks driving along the street because we're all listening to music and connected to something in our phones these days with GPS. So that's really the purpose of this site. It's just enhanced coverage. Alternatively, right, to enhance coverage, it would be another macro facility, but that's probably overkill for this area where it already has existing coverage. So this is really just relatively new, but awesome tool in our toolbox. In other neighborhoods, we've seen great use of small cells in the valleys in particular, because those are typically single family homes, not a lot of places to put a macro facility. So the small cells are a great way to enhance coverage, particularly in the valley. And the last thing I'll share before turning to questions is we often get questions about timeline. So for this site, it hasn't been installed yet. I just checked their schedule, and right now the projected installation will start toward the end of the year. But something to note is it takes several visits before the site can go on air. So our team will come out and install the equipment, but it has to be visited by our service providers, so fiber and power. And then our team goes back, puts everything up, and then we just make checks before turning it on. And I'm sorry, I said that was the last thing, but this is the last thing. Radio frequency safety, this is a common question we get as well. So I just wanted to share that, you know, we have very strict federal guidelines that we must follow. They apply equally to any technology, so 3G, 4G, 5G, and for all of our sites, all of our new sites, we run a third-party report. to see what the RF level would be at maximum power, which our sites never run at, but that's the worst case scenario, right? And to see if the RF safety would, the RF exposure would still be within the guidelines, and typically they are. For a small cell like this, even at maximum power, it's typically within 1% of the allowable exposure limit the federal government has set. And just to put that further into context, our small cell sites, almost all of them are considered low power with Hawaiian Electric, which means we just pay a flat rate because it doesn't produce a whole lot. And that is the end of my presentation. I can also drop my email into the chat.
Thank you, Elizabeth Sangley, for that presentation. Questions from the board?
Thank you for your presentation, and that is a relatively small cell power, if you will. And understanding that you're putting it in between to sort of boost the area. Now, how long would something like this, with with all of our progression and everyone getting on the devices, how long would something like this last or suffice that particular area? And I understand there's very stringent federal guidelines in obtaining these things. So I guess kind of, putting the cart before the horse, like, may there be a day where that won't suffice, and then you're gonna actually put in a huge cell tower, in the Auburn core like that, so.
So looking into the future, yeah, I guess I don't know, because I don't know that we anticipated small cells being something either. But I will say, every installation takes a great deal of time and resources. And so I think we think carefully about how we invest all of that. As I mentioned, though, like the macro sites, right now it's a combination of 4G, LTE, and 5G. And so, over time, as more of those channels turn to 5G, or even this site may turn to 5G, or via combo, that would help a lot with managing traffic, at least for some time. And then who knows how technology will increase. But the idea is, we put this infrastructure in, and, hopefully it's just a matter of upgrading the technology. But we're constantly evaluating, I think, all of the tools in our toolbox to enhance coverage.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris, for that question. Any other questions from the board? Questions from the community online? Okay. Thank you again for being here today. Appreciate it. Okay, the time is now 7:43 p.m. We are moving on to sub-district reports. Do any of the board members want to report on anything that is going on in their sub-districts? Secretary.
Thank you. I'm not sure how this works, so I'm putting that in. There's a building, public storage building in the corner of Kapilani, Kamatiti Street. And AT&T is there, that went down, sushi places there. The landscaping, there is no landscape. It's just dirt and weeds and trash. And I happen to walk my dog there quite frequently. And you notice the rubber hoses that obviously are either broken or sprinkling hoses or whatever. Is there any kind of rule, law, whatever, that a building is supposed to maintain? Because that's on both sides of the sidewalk. You have a picky bike station there and without a trash can. So the picky bike people who park or don't park or return or pull out a bike, oftentimes their water bottles are left on the ground of the track. So is there a rule that the owner of the building is supposed to maintain the landscaping and keep it nice for everyone? And thank you.
Thank you, Secretary.
It's just.
It's the building, so we have Kamakate Street and Cluster Line. We keep the car washes just over here. So, yeah, public storage is beige and orange, and the whole section fronting Kapiolani Boulevard, it's atrocious. You have the Pacifica building, and then you have the 909 building next to it, going Emma. They have beautiful, thick, beautiful grass. And there are those gorgeous kiawe trees that are there, but they maintain their grass, but the public storage building, they don't do anything. For years, it's been like this. Is there a rule? Does anybody know if there's a rule about the fact that the landlord or the owner of the building is supposed to maintain it for the community's benefit? City?
Yeah, city. Yeah.
Yeah.
City.
That's what I'm saying. There's one for you, Councilmember Say.
So,
Are you
I
here?
think he has a representative here, but that does, it is reminiscent of the conversation we had about that corner CVS or Lawns.
Yeah.
And Councilmember Say had actually followed up with, I believe, the owners or the attorneys of the building when it came to graffiti, so.
It's really an eyesore. So attractive.
So hopefully someone, if he's online or if someone else can provide a question or an answer for it.
Online.
But
Thank you.
sure, thank you for bringing that up.
If not, I think another avenue and the mayor representative come on, that ask them to follow up on it.
Because I would think as a property owner, they're supposed to maintain and keep it in attractive condition, I would think. Can you imagine if every condominium and every office building, and nobody maintained that section, like, which is public?
If we have someone online.
Aloha. Aloha, this is Pua from Councilmember Say's office. How are you guys doing today? I just wanted to get so you're talking about Kapiolani that's right in front of the storage. Is it after the sidewalk or is it before the sidewalk?
It's on both sides. It's on the property side, then there's sidewalk, and then the side closest to Kapiolani Boulevard.
Okay, can you give me the address, the particular address of where that is? Because what I can do is I can submit a request to the Department of Facilities Maintenance to see if they can maintain that. We can find out if that's actually considered city and county property, which sounds like it is, and we can actually submit a request to have that maintained.
Well, I don't know the address, but I'll have to call your office tomorrow. And
Perfect.
It's at the corner of Kapiolani and Kamakate Street. It's where the AT&T office is and Moana fish sushi place is, and then it's public storage. There's also a yoga place there too. It's 1060. Thank you, 1067 Kapiolani.
Okay, no problem.
Did the same thing. Well done. You're quicker than me.
So thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
I think your bigger concern, not just for that one property, it's just all along, whenever you have a business that's along like Kapiolani Boulevard. For example, I know that on Ward at Kapiolani, that Jack in the Box,
Yeah.
that grass is, like super high, same thing. So again, it's a spot thing. So if it's pride in ownership, it's something that the city needs to monitor, or I'm not sure what it is, but I think that's a bigger issue there. Yeah.
I mean, the rest of the Kapiolani section there across from McKinley, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's such a shame. Even in front of McKinley Car Wash, their grass is green. So, thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Rice. Any other sub-district reports? Member Davis?
Hi, so I had a resident kind of ask me and I'm putting it out there to better grow my knowledge, but asking about rent control laws in Hawaii, having had their rent increased by quite a bit recently. I know that Senate Bill 52, I did some research, went through the Senate in 2001 and was, dropped because there was, I think, a good amount of lobbying from the Realtors Association, or I'm probably not naming that correctly, but I'm trying to better understand, what's the economic reasoning for not having rent control laws in especially, Honolulu proper, Kakako Ala Moana specifically. From what I am reading, and again, that's seems to be kind of one side of the argument. But it seems like if the profit margins aren't quite big enough for the people that own buildings, then they won't be incentivized to build more buildings, which should help us solve affordable housing. But it seems that instead of kind of seeing that trickle down economy, we're seeing a trickle down of debt, which is just really increasing the amount of people that need affordable housing and isn't really helping us solve any issues. So I guess I'm curious on, what are the margins that people are making off of not having any rent control? It's not just, a limit to how much you can charge. It's not a limit to how much you can increase rent. There's absolutely no rent control laws. And if you look at the 5 biggest cities with income or, I guess, high cost of living in terms of, rentals, all of them have rent control laws. So I'm trying to better understand why we don't have any.
And that's a big reason why a lot of people today, young people and families are leaving, because they just can't afford to live here. This is going to be either a great state or a super young state. And the super young can't move into the housing, they're going to leave.
Right. And so I guess I want to better understand that. I don't know if, I know Senator, you're here with us, and if you have any input or kind of. Right. Right.
But in today's climate, and every public office level, talking about homelessness, houselessness, whatever you want to call it, it's such a need here. Can something be done to re-implement or re-present a bill for rent control? I mean, obviously, I believe that real estate laws probably are fine with that, absolutely. But they can't control, and then we lose population. Because when we lose the population, we lose federal funding too. Right. I mean, actually.
So, and then that was a thing, and it really truths, and then have a discussion. That's what we have to do. I'm trying to file for 10 minutes. Because I agree with that.
Yes.
Thanks.
I think Senator, if it's possible to come closer so people online can hear.
I think my biggest question too is who's benefiting the most from the current laws?
I think it's just the concept of control, right? So it's your own property, so you can do what you can and want to do with it. And on the other hand, we've got a real affordable housing crisis. So what is the compromise between those two documents? And so in terms of what was 5-6 years ago when it was introduced, times have changed. I think it's much more the dire need for housing. So I would say introduce a bill, see what the opposition is and what those in support are. And it's gonna come to hearings in the legislature and change the law. That discussion can occur, and maybe in the process, what we do is bills go through as you try to find a compromise. And so maybe there is an option that isn't all or nothing. And I think that's the process that maybe
Yeah. I think, out of curiosity, it's again, what are, just thinking about compromise, we have affordable housing. And maybe a certain percentage isn't restricted or rent controlled, there's always going to be people that can afford that level of housing. But I think, again, we're creating a system where that continues to go up and more people are in need then of affordable housing. So they either leave, or they start spending a huge amount of whatever their income is on, and that leads to just, again, a whole nother system of not being able to save or even purchase homes. So, same thing, if we're not going to control rent, what laws can be in place to help people also be more eligible for home ownership or apartment ownership? Because that also seems to be something that especially the younger generation can't even access.
There is discussion now, so no chance. They call it social housing, but they're looking at different models as well in other states and other countries.
and looking at maybe, we call it something other than rent control. You know, that might also be a way of softening sort of what we need to do to get housing for people.
It's rebranding,
I would say.
rebranding rent control.
That's part of
Got
it.
it.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First Vice Chair Shi, thank you for your patience.
It's probably a little late, and I don't mean to shut down the conversation at all, but would it be okay if we included this topic with the action item group, just because I think part of the time.
I think Member Davis has jotted down.
Yeah.
Everything that we need. Yes, so the answer is yes.
Good idea.
Any other sub-district reports? Okay.
Madam Chair, since we have enough time, can we just see the status of the treasurer?
Yeah, no, we haven't, she already sent it, so we're just going down the agenda right now. Thank you for checking.
Can take that now for.
Have our residents consent.
Okay, let's do the residents' concern first and then go into that. Thank you, Member Mariano. Time is now 7:56. Residents and community concerns. I know earlier we had Mr. Daniel online that wanted to bring something up. Is he still on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Hi, good evening, Neighborhood Board 11. It's my first time being here. I'm from Kalihi Valley, recently moved to Kaka'ako. I wanted to bring up a concern. I know homelessness and the encampments were kind of a hot topic for today, but I wanted to bring up a specific encampment that is on Keawe Street, between Halekuila and Pohukaina. This encampment comes and goes, and right now it is back. It is bringing a lot of unsavory characters and a lot of violence and bad stuff that goes on there. I've called 911 multiple times. I've also gone to the city and county complaints hotline to leave a voicemail there. And I feel that it's falling on deaf ears. I know HPD is very busy. When I do call, they do come. Yesterday was the tipping point. That was the worst call that we had to do. Started off with a guy. Middle road was antagonizing people. And then it got worse. He picked up a pipe-like weapon and he smashed a car window. 10 police officers showed up and it took 10 of them to subdue him. About an hour later, I had to call the police again. There was a domestic situation going on between two of the camp settlers there, throwing a microwave at each other. Also, I heard earlier saying that the homeless are smart. You know, they try to follow the ADA rules and such. That may be the case. I don't know if you can see me in camera. I am in a wheelchair. Yes, it is in ADA compliance, but just barely in compliance. I can barely fit on the sidewalk there. They also have dogs. They also have a generator and propane stoves over there and large propane cylinders. And yeah, it just causes a lot of noise, especially when they're blasting stereos. And, you know, of course, there's mental illness there and fights that go on. I'll keep this a little bit more short. I don't have any statistics or anything. I only go off, you know, anecdotal stories and such, but I've talked to several businesses around here. For example, Down to Earth, which is right down below in our building. They noticed an increase of shoplifting, and every time the camp comes up, they always got to tighten down everything and kind of watch out. I know moving the encampments and doing sweeps, it doesn't help, you know, it just moves it to other neighborhoods. But, you know, when the camp's not there, it's pretty quiet, it's pretty peaceful, and it's pretty safe. But since the camp's been there, it's been pretty hectic.
Where was this? Was this Keawe and Halekuila?
Keawe, it's on Keawe Street, in between Halekuila and Pohukaina. It's that strip, Keawe.
Right across the
Yeah.
count.
Yep.
Okay, I'll get this sent with the mayor's rep and we'll see what the departments can do.
Thank you,
Great.
Spencer. I
Great.
think it extends all the way up to that new construction up on the next street, right, Daniel? Along that fence.
Correct. Yeah. And it comes and goes.
Yeah, it's right along there, and then sometimes spills over into Mother Warden Park.
Yeah. It's actually gotten bigger as of today as well.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel.
Daniel.
Can we get your last name for our records?
Sure. My name is Daniel, last name McDonald.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mhm.
Any other residents and community concerns?
I do for,
Second Vice Chair Farinas?
a neighbor approached me and wanted me to bring this up on, and maybe Spencer, you could relay this to the appropriate offices, departments. Have you on South Street, traveling, Malcolm bound South Street and Kapiti Alani, there's one intersection there. And then shortly after, there's South Street turns into Alapai, so South King, South Street. So there's two intersections. And what my neighbors noticed, certain times of the days, I guess more so during busy traffic time, he can't get through both intersections. And even if you're the first line in car, because the red light is super long and the green light is super short. So I don't know if the traffic light engineers need to look at that, assess the timing. And myself, I've noticed it too when I'm traversing that area, where even like pedestrians. And the concern is, bringing up my neighbor's concern. And now with the holidays, as you know, the Honolulu holiday, it's going to be so inundated with all the little kids and pedestrians. So if there's a way to look at it where it can keep it safe for both drivers and pedestrians as well. So the takeaway is that his car can't even get through. If you get through the first intersection, you're kind of stuck if you can't make it all the way through, because it just changes so quickly. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Second Vice Chair Farinas. Before we move to the elected official reports, let's go back to the revised resolution. And it's two pieces. So First Vice Chair Farinas will be putting it in the chat for those who would like to see the text. Treasurer Iwamoto, are you on still?
I am.
Okay, thank you very much for doing that in a short amount of time. Could you go over and read that resolution before we make any motions on it?
Sure. A resolution supporting construction of permanent affordable housing and opposing construction of new hotels in the Ala Moana Kakako neighborhood. Whereas the Ala Moana Hotel and Pagoda Hotel are the only legal short-term rentals via grandfather clause in the Ala Moana Kakako neighborhood. Whereas there is no foreseeable. I'm sorry. Did you want me to read this, or I did mishear you?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. Whereas there is no foreseeable financial resources or identifiable dates of construction for transit stations in the Ala Moana Kakako neighborhood, no justification to continue its TOD special district status, and no reason to continue issuing permits to construct new hotels in the Ala Moana Kakako neighborhood. Whereas many families, single workers, and students rely on permanent, affordable housing in the Ala Moana Kakako neighborhood to keep them close to desirable school and university campuses and jobs in the neighborhood and in Waikiki. Whereas the construction of hotels in the Ala Moana Kakako neighborhood will add vehicular traffic to already congested roadways, and whereas the construction of new hotels in the Ala Moana Kakako neighborhood will continue to elevate property values, which will drive up residential rental rates, which will reduce the number of permanent affordable rental units in the area. Be it resolved that the Ala Moana Kakako Neighborhood Board number 11 supports construction of permanent affordable housing for local families, single workers, and students in the Ala Moana Kakako neighborhood. Be it resolved that the Ala Moana Kakako Neighborhood Board number 11 opposes the construction of new hotels in the Ala Moana Kakako neighborhood. And be it further resolved that copies of this resolution supporting construction of permanent affordable housing and opposing construction of new hotels in the Ala Moana Kakako neighborhood be transmitted to the Hawaii Community Development Authority, council members of the City and County of Honolulu, and the mayor of the City and County of Honolulu.
I move to accept as amended.
I second.
Okay,
Any more discussion?
yeah, sorry. Thank you, board members. Moved by member Chang, seconded by Secretary Rice. Discussion from board members.
Call for the question.
Okay. Member Mariano has called for the question.
Did anyone see Ryan Tam's comment in the?
Was there a comment online? I'm sorry.
Ryan Tam added a comment earlier
Sure.
about this, and I didn't know if you guys wanted to hear it before we voted.
Yeah, member Davis, you want to?
Yeah, Ryan Tam just added, based on community feedback over the last few years and as presented to the neighborhood board last year, the HCDA was planning to consider allowing business hotels in Kaka'ako, Mauka, so Mauka of Ala Moana Boulevard, for a number of different reasons, but any action taken by the board will be provided to the authority for consideration during their decision-making process, and then a happy holiday. So just basically there, it's, up for decision to allow business hotels in Kaka'ako as well. I know that we're, vocally opposing that, but it sounds like it's already in the works to allow it as well.
It was so noted. And
Yeah.
We have a
But we
resolution.
have
Yeah.
opportunities to.
So like even more reason to, but just so everyone.
But every month, HCDA has public meetings where you can submit testimony, you can attend and voice your opinions. We need to encourage all of our constituents that we represent in our various districts to write. Just like we did with Kaka'ako Makai, for those that did. It's very helpful to do so, and you can always submit testimony at any time, just send them an email. So I know I don't
Okay, I just
understand.
wanted to read it before we.
No, I understand why we need a hotel in Kaka'ako. When people come, I was in hospitality for 30 years, with no hotels. When people come to Hawaii to do business, they don't want to stay downtown, they don't want to stay at the airport. Just like when you go to New York City, you want to stay in an area that's centrally located so you can go to the theater, so you can eat some of the great restaurants. It's the same thing here. They're going to want to stay in Waikiki. As soon as they get off that plane, they're going to want to go put their toes in the ocean. What the heck do we need a hotel in Kaka'ako? There's absolutely no reason. When Kaka'ako was being redeveloped, really more for residential than for businesses. And the businesses that are there are small businesses. Probably the largest business is our use. So what do we need a hotel for? Let them go to Waikiki and stay in Waikiki. Keep other neighborhoods for the neighbors, the Kama'ainas, people that live here. And on that note, thank you.
Okay. Member Mario, you called for the question.
Tell me how it really.
The vote, really for the vote.
Okay, can you roll call vote?
Sure. Anita?
Yes.
Okay, Ravi Chan,
Yes.
Dyson Chi. Emma Davis,
Aye.
Lori Farinas,
Aye.
Kim Coco Iwamoto,
Aye.
Lynn Mariano,
Aye.
Jeanne Rice,
Aye.
Richard Webb, Caroline Farringer,
Aye.
and Carrie Lee.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. We got 10.
Good job.
Okay, congratulations, Lord, you have the resolution. Thank you, member Ilmota, for drafting. Okay, 8:09 PM, let's go through this since I think we have the room for a limited amount of time. Elected official reports. Mayor Rich Blangiardi's representative, is Mr. Ben Sullivan here today?
I am. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to address the board. My name is Ben Sullivan. I'm the Deputy Director for the Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency. So I just want to offer to you all that, I spend a lot of time thinking about energy issues, but we also connect those to housing and the cost of living, and we're all thinking about those issues. So really appreciate the work of the board and the consideration and the discussion tonight. I'm just going to spend my time to give updates from some of the follow-up items that have been asked of us, just passing through information. So number one on the list, parking meters on Kahaka Street. There was a question about, is Kahaka Street zoned for parking meters? Some meters have been broken for over a year. The community wants to know if they will be replaced, or maybe the street will be converted to free parking. Response to DTS, meters on Tehaka Street were recently upgraded as part of the citywide 4G meter installation project. Second question that we got a response for, there was a question about bus stop maintenance. Community requested cleaning of the bus stop in front of Times Market on Vertana Street. And DTS also replied on that one that the bus stop on South Vertana Street, located between Tikoi and Ke'eaumoku, facing Times Market, was power washed on November 1st. Next item, I'm hearing some background. Should I pause?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Item number 3, parking meters. There are numerous broken parking meters on Tehaka Street. Board is requesting maintenance or information on how to obtain maintenance. So this is related to the first one, but the information on how to obtain maintenance. Honolulu Police Department maintains the meters and collects coin revenue for parking meters. Broken or vandalized meters should be reported to HPD meter mechanics, and the telephone number is 808-832-7836. I can drop that in the chat before I get to my next one here. Last update in terms of information is from the Department of Parks and Recreation, and there was I think a member had already commented on this. There's a dead tree that was a concern on Ahana Street, possibly being home for termites. Residents are concerned the tree may soon fall. The tree is across from 952 Ahana, Maka of 929 Ahana. The DPR response is that on November 16th, 2023, a Division of Urban Forestry supervisor inspected one city pink Tacoma tree stump next door to 929 Ahana. Supervisors determined that although the stump does not appear to pose an immediate threat, removal is warranted, and they expect the removal to be completed by the end of January 2024. So that is the completion of updates that I got. And again, happy to be passing information through. I think most of the members know, but the process for us is really to be here and to listen, and then the questions that you ask of me directly in the meeting are recorded and they get passed to departments and answered as quickly as possible. I know sometimes that's a frustrating thing, but we just don't, as individuals, have all the information for all the things that you want to explore. So appreciate that, and happy to follow up if there's anything necessary.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Member Chang, and then Treasurer Iwamoto online, and then Secretary Rice.
So Ben, let me just let you know what the status is regarding the parking meters. Parking meter is not damaged. It's not broken. It's gone. The pole that it's on is gone. So the first thing that has to happen is the poles have to be put in. Then the meter guys can put the meters on them. But the entire meter and pole is gone. There's nothing to put the meter on. The pole's got to go in first, and then they can put the meter on. So that's really what the issue is. It's hard to find where the meter belongs because the grass has grown over it for 3 years now. So they're gonna have to come in there and measure it out and figure out where to put the pole in the ground first. So that's where we are. Thank you.
If I may, just again, I don't want to just keep kicking these things down the road. So just to get absolute clarity, you're saying this is a particular meter spot where the pole is no longer there. And I'm wondering if you have had the opportunity to call HPD and the meter mechanics that I referenced and giving them the specific address, or if you have.
They are aware of it. I've spoken to them about it. They're waiting for the city to put the pole in the ground.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean,
Stands on, got a little cement base to it. It's in the ground, so you can't pick it up and walk away with it. That section's gone. They need the city to put that in first. Then the parking enforcement can put the meter on.
Okay, just to be clear, we're all the city, but I appreciate the fact that it may be another department that has the responsibility of putting the
Okay.
there. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Treasurer Iwamoto online, and then Member Rice, and then Member Mariano. Did you have something?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I think we did have a conversation before. I wanted a status update. At the beginning of Mayor Blangiardi's mayorship, when he first came on, his housing person told us that there was only 50% of temporary housing available for our current houseless population on Oahu. And that was in the beginning, so it's been a few years now. I wanted to get an update. Have we actually provided, because I've heard of temporary shelters closing. I haven't heard of any, other than the small little cottage places. I haven't heard of a lot of larger shelters opening up. So I just want to get a status on that because it was 50% before. Hopefully at this point we're at 75%. I don't know. Thank you.
So
Thank
if
you.
we can make sure your question is captured properly, we can make sure it's routed for I guess it would be the January meeting. And the specific question is with regard to the status of additional temporary housing since Mayor Blangy already took office. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I do want to point out, and I don't know that it's in there, but I'm dropping a link to the Department of Housing in the chat as well. And they did just release a draft housing plan that they are then going to follow up and augment. So that's another resource for looking at these issues. But again, your question is noted, and we'll make sure that we route it to the proper people for a response. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Secretary Rice.
Thank you. Hi, Ben. I don't know if you were part of the conversation earlier this evening, but I brought up comments about the property at 1067 Kapiolani Boulevard in public storage. It's at Kapiolani and Kamakei. The whole Kapiolani Boulevard frontage is a disaster. There's no grass, there's no, all there is dirt and crap. And what department, who do you go to go to the owner of the building to ensure that they maintain the property in the right way, so it's attractive. It's next to the Civica condominium, and the next one over is 909 Kapiolani, and it's just an eyesore. And
Let me make sure I understood. What I heard from your conversation previously was that you had a concern about the landscaping, and this is on Kapiolani, and it's the public storage building in the frontage area there. It wasn't clear to you whether it was public property or private property, but you wanted to know in either case who was responsible for maintaining. I think in the case of private property, you were interested to know if there were any city ordinances that required private property owners to maintain their landscaping. Is that all correct?
correct.
Okay. Hopefully that is captured. Can somebody acknowledge if that's captured for transmittal?
Thank you. Member Mariana?
Yeah, Sullivan, I mentioned it before and I've gone around, and as I drive around the island, I've also received an email from Spencer to identify certain locations where I would see like street signs as an example that's faded away, and some of the temporary lane markers are crooked, and it's just kind of bad. It looks really bad for the quality of service that the taxpayers are paying for. So is it possible that you can get the mayor or somebody from the transportation as they go around and travel, and maybe use HPD to identify these places? A good example is you drive down Veritania Street and you go Veritania and Ke'iamoku. Right there in that corner, you can see Veritania, the street sign. But when you look at Ke'iamoku, you can barely read it. And so for us locals, we know where we're at. But for the tourists, that becomes a challenge. And it's kind of embarrassing that, we're paying these tax-paying dollars, and yet we're not maintaining these infrastructure, just like street sign is a good example. Some of the street lights needs to be repaired. Just like my colleague here, Rodney, talked about the parking meters. So I think that if the mayor, city council and all of us together to kind of go out there and look at what's out there and then start to take a care attitude and start prioritizing to fix the infrastructure because it's falling apart.
I would love to refine your comments into a question that I can get a response for. I do hear you on the concerns about
Okay,
infrastructure.
if you would like a question, the question is, can the mayor get the DOT to go around the island of Oahu and take a look at street signs, traffic lights, street lights, crosswalks, sidewalks, you name it, to go ahead and start identifying it and start fixing it? That's the question.
Thank you.
It should be an aggregate, right?
Somebody's supposed to be doing that, I'm sure. Not, it should. Any other questions?
First Vice Chair Chi.
And then, question, if you can forward this on to the appropriate department, I mentioned this earlier, to HPD, but there's, a ton of illegal dumping of really heavy items that have been left, on Elm Street across from the McDonald's on the old Meadowgold facility. And if you could just contact the appropriate department to ask them to remove that, that would clear up the sidewalks that we can go in the front. Thank you.
Apologies in that being virtual makes it hard to sometimes catch the addresses, but as long as it's noted and we get the proper notation of the specific address you noted, I can make sure that it goes into the record and we get you a follow-up on that.
Okay, I can send you an email with the addresses as well. Actually, a Pine resident also took photos. Would it be helpful to have the photos?
Yeah, could you send this to me as well?
Okay, I'll send them to the friend. Okay.
We'll be in communication, Ben. Thank you.
It's a more, so just putting it in the chat.
Okay.
Just putting it in the chat.
Okay, board members, thank you for your questions. Anyone else? I don't see anyone online. Mr. Sullivan, thank you for being here this evening. Happy holidays.
Thanks all. Have a great night.
Okay, the time is now 8:22. Councilmember Calvin or someone from his office?
Aloha, everyone. This is Puaf Smith Kauhane from Councilmember Say's office. Councilmember apologizes that he couldn't attend the meeting tonight. He was in council all day today from 9 o'clock on, and he finished his task. So I just wanted to let you know that. I wanted to give you guys some updates. Today is the first day that this has happened, but update on resolution for the 1500 Kapiolani 23-272 passed out of committee today that provides the applicant with a 120-day extension, at which point the applicant shall submit to the Department of Planning and Permitting for review, recommendation and a draft resolution. A project modification proposal that is of benefit to the community, together with a request for further extension of the deadline to obtain a building permit for the project to implement for the proposal. The second announcement that I do have is member Rodney Chang. We did get your concerns regarding the dead tree. I'm glad that we got an update on that. The traffic light issue and upheaval of the concrete sidewalk. So I actually submitted 4 requests through Councilmember Say's office for the concern regarding the possible sinkhole on the street, the concern regarding possible abandoned vehicle. If I could get more information, if you have a license plate or if the vehicle is still there, can I get more information? I did get your photos, and mahalo very much for those photos. I really appreciate it. The 2 missing parking meters are located on Kaheka Street, fronting Kaheka Professional Building. Those are the ones you're talking about with the mayor's representative. So I did put a request, and I saw your pictures, and I did submit a request for that. The pole is missing completely. I mean, it's like it's not there. I see the shadow of the bottom of where the pole was. So I just wanted to make sure that I wanted to let you know that we did put a request in for that. And then the 2 missing parking meters located on Ahana Street, fronting 952 Kaheka Street, directly across from 952 Kaheka Street. And you had pictures attached as well. So are there a total of 4 missing or just the 2? 4. If I could ask. 4. Okay, perfect. So that's what I ended up submitting. The other thing that I wanted to update about is that in the chat, my boss, Nell Denny, was saying that the Mayor's Office of Housing did a presentation today on their housing plan, and the video should be available tomorrow. And there is a website, so you guys can check that out in regards to the housing. The other thing too, I wanted to acknowledge the fading signs and like the street lights and what have you. With member, well, I'm sorry, I apologize. What member? What was it request? Okay, Ariano, thank you so much. Member Ariano, I wanted to let you know that there is an opportunity that you can go through this one thing called a 311 app. The 311 app you can actually use with your phone. You can take a picture, you can take a video of the sign, and we can hear your comments, and then that can be submitted through the 311 app for any fading signs, any fading sidewalks, any kind of streetlights, or even areas street that repaired that you need to. Oh, Mariano, I'm sorry, remember Mariano. If there's anything that can be taken care of, please try and submit it to the 311 app, and then it will be forwarded to the proper departments. Other than that, we have our monthly report that Councilmember Say has, and it's in the chat. It's www.honolulucitycouncil.org/district/or-5-say. His monthly report this month is about parking. So if you want to take a look, there's some fun facts about it, such as vehicles are not allowed to park within 30 feet of the stop sign. I don't know if you guys knew that, but that's actually a rule. So if you guys have any, that's my report for tonight. If you have any questions, I'm ready for questions.
Thank you. Questions? Okay, thank you for being here this evening. Appreciate it.
Sure. Have a happy holiday as well.
You too. Councilmember Tyler DeSantos Town or Robin Hensky from his office.
Hey guys. Great job, Pua. That was a great presentation. So I want to share our monthly newsletter, November, in the chat right now. And I did want to mention, actually, which Pua mentioned, that the housing plan is uploaded and will be available tomorrow. Denise Isiri Ortega, the director of the Office of Housing, very impressive woman. She's been on this neighborhood board and presented before, so very receptive, and we are open line of communication with her. So it's really glad that she's in the position she's in now. But yes, so the newsletter's in the chat, and I also want to add that the Jack in the Box property where it's overgrown, closest to the road, across the street from the dealership, we've worked with the state DOT before to cut the grass. So if it needs to be cut again, we are completely willing to reach out to Director Sniffin's office again. But yeah, that's my report. Thank you guys.
Okay, thank you.
For any questions.
Ms. Robin Hensky, thank you. Questions from the board? Okay, thank you. Happy holidays. Okay, State Representative Scott Nishimoto or Taylor Date, if she is on.
I'm here.
Hi, Representative.
Hi, good evening, board and community members. I am available for questions.
Questions for Representative Nishimoto for this evening?
Nope.
Okay, looks like we're good. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
State Representative Adrian Tam.
Good evening, everyone. This is Flora with Representative Tam's office. I'm just here to say that Representative attended the first hearing for the Food, Water, Shelter, and Housing meeting working group, and that went really well. and they expect to have lots of good information to inform them for this upcoming legislative session. Our office is currently drafting legislation for 2024 session, so please reach out to us if you have any bill ideas. You can contact Rep Tam at reptam@capital.hawaii.gov, and if anyone has any questions, I can take them and get back.
Thank you. Flora, questions from the board? Community? Okay, thank you. Moving on, Speaker Scott Psyche or his office representative, Frank or Joe Zinsky. Do we have anyone from Speaker Psyche's office? Okay.
Hi, Shirley, members of the neighborhood board. Thank you guys for having us tonight. I am just put in our neighborhood board report for November, but if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Okay, questions from the board? Thank you. No questions. Thank you for being here this evening.
Like now, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Frank, could we get a link that works? I think it's been reported back that it might not.
just got it. It just
Okay,
it's a little
good.
slow.
Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
We need it so.
Okay, and in person, we have Senator Sharon Horwaki. Thank you for being here this evening.
Statement that was
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Here's my. Hi. Holidays. I'm gonna have this. Watch it. Is it going online? I think it's online. I'm not sure. My staff might have put. Really fast. Glad to be here. I have a report on various things that happened in the district. One, I know Member Chang is involved in. I reported on the Nancy Park.
I want to thank you. There's been a marked
Oh, really?
improvement
Okay.
in the complaints.
Great. Yeah, I know that there are fewer people on this phone. Representative Nishimoto was with me on the Zoom meeting that we had, but thanks to residents who complained about the noise, I think they've been living with it for a while. So, but I just want to encourage people to really work on this because communication is everything and just getting together. I think there was a good compromise.
They were really responsive to the point where the ones who were really bad violators, their parking was actually revoked.
Oh,
So
good.
they no longer.
They could follow through.
Yeah, they followed through. So ever since then, it's the noise, litter.
Foul language.
Foul language, music, urination, defecation, it's all stuff.
Oh, I didn't realize that part of it. Yeah, and so I just encourage people to, come forward and work together because I think, communication a lot. Thank you.
They've been very responsive.
Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity for the communication.
Thank you. And it was really good to get Department of Health, so we knew what the rules were. So it's nice to know the law. So thank you very much, Member Chang. I just reporting on some things, the raised crosswalk that you heard from Howard Hughes is being installed. HCDA, thanks to your help, the Kaka'akamakai rules are being decided upon on December 6th. So if anybody still wants to send in comments, but I think it's really nearing getting those rules adopted, which is really long way in coming. It affects maybe some of you, but the Alawai Small Boat Harbor, there's the Department of Land and Natural Resources, the board is meeting on a vendor to take care of that area, parking area. I think that the concern has been that there's free parking for the surfers and others in that parking. I think there's about 940 some odd stalls, and of that, a third is free parking for the public. And I think that's being decided, but I think they're leaning toward just not changing that part of the rule and just getting the vendor in. But don't hold me to it. the board is gonna meet on December 8th, you know, for sure. But again, I encourage people to testify, as it was brought up before, Jeannie brought it up, that, you know, you need to be testifying. If you don't like something, you like something, that's the only way that decision makers will know, what the community thinks. And so I really encourage, you to weigh in. One is the other is the Waikiki Resilience and Sea Level Rise Community Meeting. We're really concerned about sea level rise and climate change, and I know that's, you've been doing some work in the past on that. But the university has a lot of research, and it's been science sort of at a macro level. So this project is trying to bring it to the community, to have the community understand what the science is and start developing a plan that's really community driven. So this is the first step of hearing what the science is, where we are, and using Waikiki as a pilot because it's right on the coastline. It affects a lot of buildings.
Is this the one that the Army is being part of also developing that wall? Or is this a different?
It's
one?
different.
Oh,
This is really looking at how do we develop a community plan.
Oh, got it,
adapt
got it.
to sea level
Understood.
rise.
Thank you.
So, I mean, it could involve it because it's all in that whole Waikiki Special Improvement District. But it really is focusing on what can we do for the future and how do we plan to deal with the rising sea level. Yeah. But I encourage you also to be at the Hawaii Clubhouse, encourage you to attend and learn more about sea level rise and its impact on the community. And also there's career technical DOE's career and technical education standards. They're asking for feedback. I just want to mention one thing because this is near and dear to us on the Ways and Means Committee for the state, is that we're looking at stopping the brain drain. So a lot of our work has been looking at from high school to career and even that means, so looking at different sectors, whether it's creative media or whether it's healthcare, renewable energy, but getting the high school kids involved and engaged at the lower level so that they can shadow or come in to work with employers in renewable energy, creative media. And so this CTE, Career and Technical Education, is something that we're really trying to develop at the DOE level so that you don't have to get a college degree. Sometimes, you know, having a certificate, especially in IT and information technology, it's so important that you have competency. So we're looking at how do you mix that and have off ramps that you don't have to get a 4-year college degree to do certain kinds of careers, and then move them up if they so believe that this is really where I want to spend my life. I want to do something more advanced, to have that opportunity, but move them into hands-on kind of experience. So we're really pushing that so that we could keep our kids here, have them stay here and thrive here. So we're developing that whole area in creative media, healthcare, ag business. So it's, I just want to encourage you folks to kind of keep involved in that and kind of learn about it and maybe even help out in it.
Oh, I have a lot of experience with CTE pathways.
Yeah. We really want to develop careers and not just get a degree.
Internships, certifications,
And if we do have funding for internships, so we can earn words.
Have we partnered as
So I'm
well?
just wanted to share that with you because I think that's a really important area and the other citizen patrols. And so some of us are working. And so I just included a new one that is the Blaisdell Citizen Patrol. That's working with the One Archer group. They've expanded, so it's closer to you folks. We'll get involved. So I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Questions?
Thank you for pushing HCDA for my beloved dog park. And hopefully the crosswalk too. And it's all started, the fencing's up, they're tearing it apart, and the community is really excited, so thank you very much.
Thank you for pushing it through. And I think that the last phase of it for the crosswalk, I just got word from HCDA Director, Frank, that they needed to have PICO approved because the light And so it got approved today.
They're doing, oh, cool. So because of the park lighting, the dog park lighting, and that they wanted to do that work at the same time, which makes perfect sense.
Right, so that is now approved, so now DPP, planning and permitting can approve it, and then they get this on track.
Thanks, Maru. All the mommies in the park ask me every morning, so.
Yes, I know,
a
it's
very-
coming, it's coming.
I know, those cars speed so fast, and it's great that it's gonna happen.
Right, so
thank you.
one more thing, so I don't know Daniel's last name on Keawe Street. I have been working on that with HCDA. HHFDC owns that property and the police department. And also Hawaii Health and Harm Reduction Center, which has outreach homeless workers. But we need to have Daniel's name and contact so that HCDA can contact you. Dan, you're still on?
Yes,
I'm still here.
Okay, so if we can get his email or something, then I can give it to the director. And let you follow up. Okay. Okay, so I have nothing. Okay.
Thank you, Senator. And we appreciate you being in person as well.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
I have to come because I'm not going to see you next time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Governor Josh Green's representative, Mr. Adam Weintraub, are you online?
Left the message in the chat.
Okay. Okay, and then anyone from Congressman Case's office? Okay, 8:41, so let's go breeze through these. HCDA.
Aloha, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Hi, this is Francine Murray from HCDA. If I can share screen, we have a short presentation for you.
Can you share screen?
Yeah. Everyone should be.
Okay, Francine, I believe you're able to do so. Thank you.
Just a second.
Get over and sit down.
Here it is.
Hey, we gotta like, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for the chocolates.
Okay. Can you see our Kaka'ako rules update?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. This is what Senator Moriwaki was sharing with you earlier. We're updating the rules on Kaka'ako Makai to include the residential ban in the Kaka'ako Makai area on the ocean side of Ala Moana Boulevard. Sorry. Oh. Okay, here it is. The schedule for the Kaka'ako Makai rules will have that December decision-making hearing. If you want to submit testimony, we'll be accepting it until 9 a.m. that day. Or you're welcome to come and present orally. The draft rules are on the website, and I'll put the copy of that in the chat. Then we'll also be updating the Kaka'ako Malka rules, and that'll be in January with the decision making in February. First, a quick overview of the changes in the Makai rules is to include the ban on residential, simplify permits, parking reform, and include climate change planning and resiliency. I'm trying to make it quick. In the Malka rules, the proposed changes include permit simplification, parking reform, benefits community with incentives to developers, business hotels, height limits, and also climate change planning. So if you are interested in any of these, please submit testimony. Again, I'll drop a link in the chat, or you can easily find it on the homepage of our website. Okay, are there any questions?
Thank you, Francine. Questions from the board? Hey, thank you for being here this evening.
I'm sorry, I do have a question.
Treasurer Moto.
Hey, I was just curious about whether the resolution we just passed this evening will be received as testimony on the issue of hotels in the Kakako area.
I can ask and email chair the response. Yeah, I can take the question back to the office and email the response to chair.
Okay, I mean, just make sure, and I'm not sure, Spencer, if you'll have it, I guess, put into form and if it'll be signed by the time the HCDA cuts off accepting testimony.
For the Malca area rules, the decision making is in February.
Oh, okay, thanks. Thank you.
The Mackay is the ban on residential, and that decision is December 6th.
Okay, thank you so much for that clarification.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you, Treasurer Moto. Member Davis.
I'm sorry, Member Iwamoto, I was just gonna say that I'm gonna also write testimony, for the MEPA rules hearing as well.
Thank you.
So if it's not received, there'll be extra.
Thank you, Member Davis. Thank you, Francine, for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Hart.
Try to get you in a minute. I don't know if I can do it.
You can do it.
Just sit down here. I don't know why you're down with me. She was trying to get her. So hi everyone, my name is Johnny Reed. I'm with Arts Construction Engineering and Inspection Team, and I support Arts public involvement and public outreach efforts. Hopefully on screen before you, we see a copy, a link to our website. So Arts project website is honolulutransit.org. That's the main conduit for information if anyone's interested in the construction of the rail project. HART is a city agency tasked with the construction of the project, and Department of Transportation Services handles day-to-day operations, maintenance, and that sort of thing. So again, if you're interested in our website, it's honolulutransit.org. I put the information and a link to that in the chat. Another very handy tool we have is a weekly e-blast. So if you're not subscribed, you can go to our website. We get a lot of information, but if you scroll further down to the bottom, beyond some of our news release highlights, beyond some of our calendar spotlights and traffic alerts, there is a link to a weekly e-blast. This goes out every Monday. I write only one section of this, it's just the traffic information, but this is a quick snapshot on what HART has going on. So featured in this weekly e-blast that came out yesterday, on Monday, November 27th. The first section is a monthly progress report for October 2023. Each month, HART produces a comprehensive report on the current status of the Honolulu Rail Transit Project. Again, this is a clickable link to the October report. And in December, a little later next month, we'll have the November report. That's just how the cycles work for that. So again, clickable link for that if you're interested in downloading that file. Next section is, we did a news release as well. So HART installed blue business access signs along Dillingham Boulevard. This was for some feedback we got for visibility to business and residential driveways, even Honolulu Community College. Some concerns with our 24/7 lane closures out there. It's hard to discern the driveway entrance. So to that, HART implemented blue business sign along Dillingham Boulevard and Community Highway to kind of help with driver navigation. And last section is a Monday traffic update. This is just spotlighting some of our more impactful lane closures. For anyone who's been on Dillingham Boulevard, you know that it's one lane at eastbound, one lane at westbound between Middle Street and Ka'ahi Street, 7 days a week. This is a spotlight that just gives people a way to learn more about the closures and then download some of the flyers. Last section, and quickly on our weekly e-blast, we like to spotlight businesses on the rail alignment to make sure people know where they can shop and get retail and different food options to choose from. This is more of an open-ended spotlight on all the businesses. So each week, part will spotlight one, except for this week, when we're trying to draw attention to our holiday flyer, which lists all of our retailers, our restaurants and establishments that are participating. And any business that's on the alignment is free to participate. It's just another promotional tool that we like to spotlight. And you can just email us if you want to join, indicate whatever you'd like to write on, specials, address, that sort of thing, and we'll do it as a free promotion to make sure we have enough for that. That's it for my report. If you have any questions, you may have about our.
Thank you. Questions? Okay, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board of Water Supply. I don't think they're on. I think they might have printed something online. Board members, mahalo messages for the holidays. This is something that Rodney Chang had brought up. I remember Chang had brought up last year. And I think it's great. But this particular meeting fell after Thanksgiving. Nonetheless, we are not going to be back until January. So let's just go around. Well, I'll go down the list and just let us know what you are thankful for the holidays. Member Chang.
This year, I'm very thankful for our first responders. They are having a crazy year. I have not seen this kind of crime ever, I think. And so I just want to express my, sadly, express my thanks to them for doing the job that they're doing. It's not easy. They should get all the support the community can give them. And lastly, thanks to all of you. You guys made this year go by really quickly. It did. It went by really fast. And I think that as a group, I think we did a lot of good things. So, thank you.
Thank you, Member Chang. Member Richard Webb.
Yeah, I'm thankful for the, like Ron said, the first responders, our military, who put their life on the line every day for us so we can meet here and do what we do. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to be on this board. Learning a lot from the people who've been on here for a while. So I'm still learning. But thank you. Just thankful to have friends and family.
Thank you. First Vice Chair, Dyson Chi.
Since to be thankful for, but to keep it short, I mean, first, I'm thankful to all of you. It's an honor to be able to serve the board with everyone here. You all make it very fun, you make it very interesting, and you make it a learning moment. And I'm grateful to have this opportunity open one. We will continue to have this opportunity, I think everywhere. Extra grateful to Charlie. I think this board wouldn't have the leadership position that I currently have without you. And I'm grateful for you basically being able to that. And then also grateful to Spencer and the entire NCO office for allowing us to exist. Because without you all, we literally wouldn't be here. And I'm grateful to all the community members who came out tonight and throughout the past for sticking with us, when I needed to stay so long. So, like tonight, we tried. We did our best.
I'll have one next month. Thank you. Thank you. Where's my Chi? Member Lynn Mariano.
Yeah, I echo fellow board members and also for your leadership. Again, the thoughts and prayers to first responders working hard with limited resources and continue to do that day in, day out. And then also for the military that's out there standing on watch to ensure that we continue to keep our country free and move forward, despite all the challenges that we have in front of it. And then also the members of the community that they participate, whether it be here or online or seeing me on the street and then bringing up their concerns. So really appreciate that, because without that, we won't be able to represent the community if that's the statement.
Thank you, Mariano. Secretary Jeannie Rice.
Thank you. Well, for me, I also echo what our previous friends over here, members have stated, but I am so enjoying being part of this neighborhood board. I'm learning every day from all of you, and the creativity and the ideas that are put on the table are so valuable to our community. And that's why we're all here. I love my walks in the morning, and so many people come up to me and comment this and comment that. and they ask really good questions. And like me, I hope all of you to get involved, because if you don't get involved, you can't complain. You don't vote, you can't complain. In Dyson, I think it's awesome that someone your age is involved, and I wish more young people, I'm old, but I wish more young people would get involved. So let's encourage them to get involved, because we need your input. You guys think differently than we do, and that's a good thing. And it's valuable insight. So thank you all very much. I like being part of this neighborhood board.
Thank you, Secretary Wright. Member Carolyn Behringer online.
Hi, everybody. I'll keep it short, but I just want to say that I'm very thankful to be living in these islands, and I'm thankful for all of you and all of the people, first responders, and everyone who supports us, and for most of all of your patience and kindness. So thank you and happy holidays.
Thank you, Member Behringer. Treasurer Kim Kokoyomoto.
Thank you so much. I'm really thankful for, especially because this topic keeps coming up I'm so grateful and thankful for those professionals and service providers who try to serve our unhoused neighbors with dignity and grace. And with that, I feel a personal kind of gratitude that I do enjoy housing security. As I think many of us on this board. So I'm happy that everyone else on this neighborhood board also has that security as well. Thank you. Have a happy New Year.
Thank you, Treasurer Umoto. Second Vice Chair Lori Farinas.
Oh, I'm so grateful to be on this board and more so to be with all of you lots. I mean, you folks are so engaging and with our elected officials, with the future developers. So, you know, you really level up my game as well in terms of being courageous and speaking out on behalf of our neighbors. I'm thankful also for my neighbors who feel comfortable enough to approach me so that I can bring their and voice their concerns to this neighborhood board. And just overall, very appreciative that we have this venue where we can come together and we can influence our elected officials, whether it be in a large or small way, but we do have a voice, and that's for us to really utilize it. So in closing this year, and we'll see you folks again at next year's board meeting, I wish you peace in your hearts, peace in your families, and peace within our respective communities.
Thank you, Member Lori Farinas. Member Emma Davis.
And it's hard to go last when everyone's already said so many things. I'm just thankful for the opportunity and to learn from all of you, especially this being, you know, my first roundabout sitting on the neighborhood board. And, you know, I consider it an immense responsibility and privilege to be able to sit here and communicate with the representatives that we get to. And yeah, just really thankful for, you know, all of the service industries that I think often go under mentioned. And I'm going to shout out teachers as a part of that, because I think oftentimes they don't always, you know, they work in the quiet / chaos of their own classrooms. But I think it's something that we need to, you know, continue kind of pushing for and supporting. So, you know, hoping everyone has a safe and restful holiday season and safe travels wherever you're heading.
Thank you, Member Emma Davis. And for me, I want to thank this board from what I have learned. And I see former Chair Ryan Tam online. Thank you for setting the path for me and everyone on here. We are a very opinionated and passionate board. I see it in every single one of the board members. We're also very collaborative. I've seen sometimes that it may not work, but somehow this board is very magical in that way. Is the best way I could say. We all come here and our intentions are to make sure that our neighborhood is the best place to live, work, and play. And that's why I say that at the beginning of every meeting. But also, I really appreciate that we're not contentious towards one another. And I think this is why this board makes a lot of progress in that sense. So I'm very grateful for that, the legislators as well, and the community members, and Spencer, who keeps us in line. So Yeah, on that note, we have the announcements. You can go ahead and read about it. City Lights is on December 2nd. There's a parade on December 3rd. The 49th Annual Street Bikers United Toy Parade. We have our social media accounts, permit reviews, the broadcasts for these board meetings are available on Olelo. And again, we are in recess for the holidays. We will be back in January. And on that note, our board wishes everyone a safe and happy holiday season. So we are 9 p.m. We are adjourned.